if I give you an example, if you're renting in Roka a 2-bedroom house for 30,000, and you can afford 30,000, but the same house for sale would cost you 7 million. A mortgage of 7 million will take you back close to 7, 8 million, 15, about 90,000. Now, that means it makes it impossible for most people to buy. So what's happening now is a lot of people are buying with SACCO loans because they're a bit cheaper. They're about 12%. They're a bit easier to get than the normal mortgage. So as long as that position is there, then yes, it's a problem. And I really, the government they're trying. There's something they're trying to do. It's not very easy to get it off the ground. It will take a few years, but something must be done. I mean, we need to get mortgages at the levels of hundreds of thousands. I mean, and for that to happen, the rate must be much lower than 10%, in my opinion. And the land price needs to, or either we open up new areas, completely new areas, where the land price will be much lower and you can still get the lifestyle that you want in those particular areas. Yeah. Well, what that is called tenant purchase schemes. Now, the only people who do it in this country, apart from that Nakuru person you're talking about, is NSSF. Because for you to do that, you must have a lot of idle cash, right? So you then put the cash in you buy the houses, right? And by buying the houses, you build the houses. You buy the land, build the houses, and for you're looking at it this way, that rather than have that money in the bank, right? By building the house and all that, the profit you'll make on it over that period, plus the interest, even if it's lower, because there's no way you can, like I said, I can be able to give you a house at the same rate you're paying interest, the normal rental at the moment. So for it to work, you have to look at it differently, like NSSF does. You have the cash. If you put in the bank, maybe you're getting 8% per year. If I give it to you as mortgage, I've already got a profit of maybe 20% on the house. So I can afford, and even if I'm getting 6%, but I already have a profit of 20% uploaded on the house in the beginning, then it makes sense. But for most private developers, it doesn't make sense. Well, there are two issues here. Most of the country is focused on land titles and land ownership, and in that space I think there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of interest, because everybody's very conscious about, there's that whole aspect of you want to own a piece of land somewhere. So there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of knowledge. I think even the titles, like you're saying now, the government is really trying to give people titles, because it's a very good thing what they've been trying to do. Especially shockingly, when I think during the elections we discovered, which we didn't know, when His Excellency spoke and said only less than 20% of the country has titles. Now that is quite shocking. We always imagined actually before that if you're in Mombasa and you live on a land and you've got a house, you have a title. But surprisingly, most of the country doesn't have titles. They have still sort of a communal knowledge, where everybody sort of knows that is Kamau's area, this is Moraya's area. But really, and the demarcation is purely by fence. But you know what it does? You can't utilize that. You can't borrow against it. You can't invest really seriously on it, because you're not quite sure what will happen 10 years from now. The banks will lend you money on it. So what they're trying to do now is a very good thing, because if you give people these titles, there's always that argument people will sell, but that's also part of development. Because if I give you the title you bid on and now you sell it to him, what happens? You go and start putting chickens, true, with the money. So you actually have now something else to do, right? So you don't want to farm, but you want to keep chickens or a shop. So land as itself is a very crucial asset, and the government must actually be encouraged. There's a lot of politics in it, but really they're doing the right thing, and they should continue doing that. The difference is now when it comes to housing, the housing laws that are in place are not adequate. They are cumbersome, they are slow, they are difficult to use. So they were designed, most of the laws were done, let's say 80s. The last one was done in 80s. And the way they are designed, most of these laws were designed when nobody imagined you could do more than 40 units. So they're designed to work very efficiently for low number of units. When you start working with projects like we are doing, where you have 1,000 units, then it's a problem. And it's a very big problem, because the whole registration process is very slow, and it's all to do with the law. Personally, we've been involved in trying to change that law, trying to create a new law that simplifies the whole process of house registration. And I'm not talking about land. I like to be very clear that I'm not dealing with land issues, because there you'll have guys putting on your outside here with banners that you become a land grabber. It's not about land, it's about property, right? So we've been spending a lot of time trying to find a solution that makes it easier, because if we can make it easier to own a house, then it makes it easier for you to buy the house. But right now it's quite a tedious process that we find even in our projects. People get tired, especially where mortgage is concerned. They start off as mortgage buyers, they go through the bank, they find the process very cumbersome, very slow, and somebody ends up maybe selling a kashamba somewhere and clearing, or going to SACCO and getting a loan, So the process of house registration, property registration, is not good, right? But something is being done by the government, and hopefully this year should not finish. Oh, a lot. The first one is we introduced gated communities into this country. Before 2006, you had never heard the word gated community in this country. So we did the first gated community at Roslyn. And when we started, everybody told us it would not work, because it had never been done before, right? And the whole idea behind a gated community is that you secure the perimeter of the place. It doesn't matter how big it is. It can be an acre. Our first project was 23 acres. It can be 4 is 100 acres plus. It can be even 1,000 acres. The point is you secure the perimeter and you have controlled access. And then when that happens, you don't need to have everybody with a dog, security guard, and steel gate and stone fence. So what we did was we introduced that concept of gated communities, and the main reason was that we wanted to recreate the communal living. You see, when we grew up like where we grew up in shags, you knew your neighbors. Why? Because there's no gates. The neighbor didn't have a stone wall around his house. He had no gate. So as you're walking to the shops, you would see him, and he'd see you, and you talk to each other. So we've lost that over the years. So what we're trying to do is bring it back. And within our developments, we don't have gates, right? We don't have stone walls. We have green fences. And even if you want a gate, it's only for pets, and the gate can't be higher than that high, and it must be see-through. So you can't put a metal gate. And the whole point, and we put this in the laws that we do for the housing, and the whole point is to encourage that communal living, right? So that we stop living in prisons, home-built prisons, where you don't even know who's your next door neighbor. So it has worked very well, and the projects, now it's become the thing that everybody wants to do, and we are happy. We are quite happy to be the pioneers and let people, follow the lead that we have. So that's, I would say, is one of the biggest sort of contributions we did. The other one was JVs, joint ventures with landowners. Again, we pioneered that joint venture aspect with landowners. Today, there's a lot of developments done by JV, by way of JV. It helps two things. You are sitting on idle land. It's worth a lot of money, but you have no money to develop it, and you have no knowledge to develop it. And when you think of maybe going to a bank to borrow money, it scares you, because you're thinking, what if the engineers don't do the right job, or the sales guys don't sell? So it's very scary in that aspect. So you find a lot of people would rather either sell the land or just hold it and do nothing. So the JVs have helped open up that space, because the owner gets the benefit of his full land value, maybe in a shorter time, as opposed to selling it as a subdivision. Two, the risk is shared with the developer, who is possibly putting in money, possibly not, but at least he's putting the technical know-how on the development of the project. And it works. And now, again, most developers are doing it. Now government wants to do it. Parastatals are doing it, like housing finance. It's a good thing. Yeah. So for us, we like the fact that we have at least achieved something beyond ourselves, beyond our success. So it helps the general, and we've also encouraged a lot of, when we started, there was not a single African developer. Today there are hundreds of African developers, and we've encouraged a lot of them over the years. Some of them directly, some of them just the fact that they can see you and hear you on TV or on radio, which in the early years we used to do a lot more. And that was done on purpose. I mean, it was done to encourage, to show people that it's possible. That, there was always the fear that you must have money. We didn't start with money. We started with an idea. So we decided, once it got off the ground, that we'll talk and let people realize that you can actually do it without money. And we would teach people how to do JVs, right? When we went to do the JVs, we had no money, right? We just had the idea and the technical know-how on what needs to be done, right? And today, there's a lot of that sort of development everywhere. I'm very happy to see there's a lot of Africans, both young and old, in the business. And the other day, it was rebased to the third most important industry in the GDP. It's a good thing. The challenges, a lot. But I use the right word. We call them challenges. We don't call them problems. Well, one of the challenges is that sometimes that has happened is the landowners, once you get them out of the hole that they have been stuck in, and they start seeing there's a lot of greenery, they sometimes become greedy and want to chase you away and take over the projects. And it's a bit of human nature, When you're stuck and you're not able to get out of some situation, you think that's it. If somebody holds your hand and lets you cross the river, suddenly you think, I crossed the river, So it's part of a big, especially with JVs, it's a challenge. And we've had our own issues, some very public in the newspapers a few years ago. Thankfully, we managed to resolve it quickly enough. But yes, there is a lot of challenges in that. again, with any business, it's a risk. If you're going to borrow money, if you're going to buy land, sometimes you buy land and you find the title is fake. So you have to really just sort of try and find, you find this challenge, you find a different solution, But even like I'm telling you, the registration process is a challenge, because today it takes roughly 9 months to register a mortgage. It takes 5 to 6 months to register a cash buyer. Now, that's a big problem for us as developers, because it means I have to carry the debt of the bank loan, and at the same time, it makes it very expensive for you as the buyer, because I try as much as possible to pass it on to you. So every time the bank hits me with some interest, I throw it at you. So it makes the house more expensive. In fact, if you look at most developments, the difference between a cash buyer and a mortgage buyer is sometimes 25% on the price, and it's purely bank interest. Oh, it's huge. We from the onset, we decided that would be at the top of the pile in the real estate, and that's our driving force. We have this sort of in fact initially we had thought we'd go a lot to the now it's called counties. We haven't even managed. We are still in Nairobi and its environs. So we are currently building close to 4,000 houses, but you can imagine they're all just within Nairobi. So we are a bit in Machakos, but it's more Mlolongo. Actually it's just Nairobi and a bit even Kiambu, not yet. So there's still a lot of potential to go to the counties, right? Especially with the devolution now, there's a lot of demand in the counties, and there's a lot of what I'd call sort of, if you look at most counties, they didn't have any developments for years. So now you've got everybody going back to the counties to work there, the MCAs, the staff, they require decent housing, they require decent facilities. And it's happening. And if you find today now, there's malls coming up in small towns like Nanyuki. There's big houses there, very expensive houses in Nanyuki. Kisumu is vibrant, very vibrant in terms of development. So there is a lot of scope in terms of county expansion, plus even regional expansion for us. So we are looking at different ways of getting out or keeping the business going. We've now started doing commercial buildings we were not doing before. We're just about to finish our first office block, just here at the roundabout, which is 100,000 square feet. We are also now developing hotels. The first one is here as well. We're doing a 4-star hotel. So we want to do a mall at Fourways and a hotel. So there's still a lot of things we need to do even within the projects we have. But the idea is that we will expand and we'll keep expanding, and eventually we will hopefully, the first place we want to go is the counties, and then after that we'll go to the region, with different products, and we're trying to create products that you can carry along in the different areas. Competition is always there and will always be there. The issue is how you deal with it. It's not, you have to understand your competition. So we do a lot of research on projects, other people's projects. We want to understand why your project is selling and why his is not selling, in the same zone. So we'll spend time, we'll go in there and find out. Sometimes we'll even come and pose as buyers in your project so that we get to know exactly what is it you're doing, And it's all to do with trying to understand the market, because it keeps changing. So when we started, like I'm saying, there was no competition. So you put a project on the market, it sells immediately. Now today, you put a project in the market, it doesn't sell immediately. It sells a bit and sells. So you have to ask yourself why. Try and create products that maybe can sell a bit easier, and always looking for a niche. What sort of market? What is it that you want? So we're always trying to innovate in terms of different products. Like, give you an example, 3 years ago we introduced what we call starter homes, right? And the starter homes were units geared towards two sets of people. One I'd call a first-time home buyer, young first-time home buyer, who can't afford an expensive house. At the same time, he wants to live near the city and near the entertainment and the bars and the whole usual. So that guy is not going to go and live in Kamulu. You understand? He'd rather rent and die renting. He's not going to go and live in Kamuru. He's fixated on the fact that I'm a town guy and I want to be, near Carnivore and the other things, So we came up with a product which we call Links. And initially we started off with, we did that sort of house, very small units, where a bed sitter is 15 square meters. Maybe you don't understand square meters, but to put it in perspective, you understand a servant's quarter, right? Now a servant's quarter is about 7-8 square meters. So what we did is we took the servant's quarter and enhanced it, so that within the servant's quarter we give you your own shower and toilet, and we give you your own cooking area, right, and a bit of wardrobe space. And the whole idea was that rather than you go and rent a servant's quarter for 20,000, which is what is happening in some areas, then buy that studio or bed sitter for 1.5 million shillings, right? So when you are outside, like in Mlolongo, we have a project called Nkasa, which is 1,000 units. Now in that one, we wanted to come with a house below 1 million. So the same house in that bed sitter is about 1 million. A 2-bedroom house is about 3 million shillings, right? So, and they are finished. The level of finishing is the same as our other projects. So they're not low cost. They're actually affordable housing, right? We don't want to do low cost. I think low cost should be left to government, right? So we do affordable housing. Now we took that same concept and brought it into town. And we've created something called Links, which it's similar units, bed sitters and studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, up to about 3 bedroom, small rooms, small units. The 2 bedroom, for example, just so to get an idea, a normal 2 bedroom is 80 square meters. Our 2 bedroom is 45, so it's about half, but it has everything, right? It has a kitchen, it has your master is en suite, you have your other visitors' toilet. I'll show you samples here. So because we knew nobody would understand these houses, when I told my staff, they all laughed. They said, there's no way you can build a house for that sort of price. So I thought to myself, if my own architects don't understand this, how is the public going to understand it? So what I did is I built them one-to-one, right? So we built the units, changed it, of course, keep changing it. We built the unit, and then we put it on the market 3 years ago. The Mlolongo project was fast, and we sold 400 houses within 3 months, right? Then we came to town, we went to Mbagathi Road, we decided we sold it in Mbagathi at 1.6, 1.7. The 2-bedroom which we are selling 3 million at Mlolongo, the same 2-bedroom we sold it here for about 4.5 million. But that cost is mostly land cost. The fact that that plot in Mbagathi Road costs 60 million, while Mlolongo, I got 13 acres for 60 million. You see the difference? Yeah. So that's what creates a problem. But the product works. It sells very well. We are currently doing the fourth one in that zone of Ngong Road, Uchumi, that area. And we've got links at Bagathi, links at Royal, links at Ngong Road. We are doing now links at Mushai. Total units now will be about 1,000 something in that zone. And that's a product that will keep building because it's got a market, it sells, it's finished properly, and there's a demand for it, right? So that's, for us, we are always trying to do something different. Now, of course, once you do it, people are going to copy you, right? But that doesn't worry us. We're quite happy to be copied, right? And we move on to something else, you know? But the whole idea is to always look for, rather than worry about competition, is look for innovative solutions that meets the market demand. And that's how we focus our business. It's an interesting one. Can I start with you guys? Let me give you some serious advice. Right? Right? And you know, there's two problems, especially for young people. You know, me, I'm saying now, you know, for young people. One is that it's a choice of how you live. You understand? So the choice of how you live in the beginning will actually determine how you finish. Now, a lot of us think in terms of, when you're young, you think 10 years is a long time, and you can't even see 30 years ahead. So you think that I've got a job now, I want to live in a nice area. So you go and rent, let's say, a bedsitter in Nairobi West or a servant's quarter. Then you're promoted, you move to the one bedroom in Nairobi West. Then you're promoted, you move to the 2 bedroom. Then you get married, you know. And what does it become? It becomes a vicious cycle. So that every time your salary goes up, you move your lifestyle. And you'll never find a match. Right? Now, the opposite of that is a person who initially looks like he's stupid because he's not living. When you guys leave the servant's quarter, he stays. Right? And when you move to the 1 bedroom, he stays. You move to the 2 bedroom. But 10 years later, the guy passes you and goes to Runda. And you're wondering, what happened? Right? Yeah. So, but it's about choices that you make in your life. And the problem is a lot of choices we make are made under peer pressure. Right? So you want to live in a certain area because your friend lives in that same area. Right? So you don't want to live in a less area. And yet you hardly can't afford it. You're just surviving, you know. The idea is to look at it short term. Look at 5-10 years as a short term, because you have a life. And if you start working at 25, if you take the first 10 years, 35, you're going to really, you know, be frugal, as they say, in terms of your livelihood. But the point is, use that, whatever saving money you have, my point is don't save money, which is what people try and do. Look for pieces of land. Don't buy houses because you can't afford a house, but you can afford a piece of land, right? And we've done that with our staff here. We have taught them. They thought, the first time I told them, thought I was crazy. I told them, you know, I can make all of you millionaires. And they thought, you know, this guy is crazy. But it has worked.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
The two words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they signify quite different things. Information is given out, communication is getting through.
Parastatal TV is a media platform that enables state cooperation, share development projects and experiences.
We are keen on promoting government-citizen communication for better service delivery to help seek a common development ground with the aim of transforming our country.
Our vision is to be the leading source of information for all state corporations to connect with the citizens.
We are the voice of parastatals. Many times when we hear about those who need a voice, we always imagine the weak. But in this case, we are speaking for the government. Yes, outnumbered by those it serves. This part of democracy can go unappreciated as it receives more blames and praise in any given country.
The government is entrusted with the directive to serve the people, and Parastatal TV exists to ensure communication between the government and the people.
This medium carries forth a message of hope, highlighting on the activities undertaken by the government with the interest of its citizen. Think about the roads we use, the energy power, quality education, environmental sustainability, security, the government hospitals, all these parastatals working together for the betterment of its citizen, and that is where we come in.
The government policies are formulated through the legislature and actualized at parastatal level by developing forums, promoting debates and discussions on issues relevant to parastatal and the people of its country.
We are a 24-hour business station, easily accessible, highly optimized website, www.parastatalafrica.com, a fast and interactive social media platform to break down all the existing geographical boundaries in order to pave way for the vision.
Parastatal TV also acts as a platform to gauge the people's response to the parastatals. This is made possible in the feedback on a 24 hours line at the TV station as well as on the online platform.
Located along East Africa's first superhighway is Parastatal TV that is speaking up for the government and putting their work in the limelight.
Talk to us today and be part of the vision as we make our nation a better place.
Parastatal TV.
Parastatal TV.
Parastatal TV.
Be the change you want to see.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Many thanks for watching Parastatal TV. Now we are at the Hilton Hotel with the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs of Greece, that is His Excellency Mr. Dimitris Madas. Welcome to Kenya.
Thank you.
I would love to ask you, what was basically the purpose of your visit in the country?
We combined two main goals, I can say. The first was the participation to the 14th session of UNCAC, and the second was to realize a series of meetings with ministers of Kenya and to have interesting contacts and interesting discussions about topics of our interest. And during these meetings, 14 Greek businessmen followed us, and they had the opportunity to have direct contacts with the ministers. We have visited 4 ministries, and besides we have visited the Chamber of Kenya. And finally, we have delivered an invitation on behalf of our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kotsias, an invitation to your Foreign Minister, Ms. Mohammed, an invitation for Greece. And we have discussed with your Minister of Foreign Affairs 3 interesting topics which can be developed in the near future.
Probably if you can take us through what are those three main topics that you discussed with.
There are two topics dealing with the sea, more or less, because you know that we have a huge experience in activities dealing with the sea, and another topic dealing with energy. And we can cooperate in energy sector because we have very interesting and specialized firms which are activated in energy in general and mainly in renewable energy, which is of your main interest in the context of your energy policy.
And are we likely to see improved relations between the two countries with the delegation coming to the country?
We have very good political relations, so this is a very interesting background. And through these interesting political relations, we have to develop our trade relations, which are very poor, but however they can expand in the near future. That's why we try to develop our trade missions here, and Ms. Mohammed will visit Greece, probably accompanied by a number of entrepreneurs. So we are going to have a second trade mission in Greece, and all these missions in cooperation with our ministries can produce fruitful results in the context of increasing our trade relations.
And what are some of the goals probably that the delegation has been able to achieve?
Here, as you probably know, there are some Greek firms. They have installed in Kenya, and we have some other with us. We have with us another series of firms that they have the intention to develop trade relations in Kenya. And we don't focus our attention on specific sectors. There is a number of sectors that we can cooperate, because take into account that our trade relations are very poor. This means that we have many possibilities to expand our trade relations in many areas. So we are interested in any kind of areas where we produce, we have a comparative advantage, we can export goods and services. And we have also discussed the possibilities of developing tourism mutually. This means that we have, as you know, a very interesting civilization, and you have a very interesting nature. So we can visit your nature, and you can visit Greece, and just visiting areas which are related to the Asian Greece.
Okay. What would be your parting shot, or maybe your final words in regards to your visit?
I think I can say that you are satisfied. You are very satisfied because we have combined everything, and we have reached to see all ministers that you would like to see. Despite, you know, all the constraints dealing with this session of UN ECTAT, we had two interventions during this session. So besides, we would like to see a number of ministers, and we would like to assure the direct contacts between our businessmen and the ministers. Finally, I can say that we are satisfied.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. The Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi is the oldest hospital in Kenya. It is currently the largest referral and teaching hospital in the country. The hospital undertakes an annual project that has affected hundreds of young children in the country, the hernia project. A hernia is the protrusion of organs such as intestines through a weakened section of the abdominal wall. If left untreated, the split in the muscle widens and greater amounts of tissue or organs are pushed through the opening, forming a sac. This visible lump or bulge is one of the key characteristics of a hernia. And so, we decided to have a first-hand experience of the project. For a start, we had to go through the children's ward where we met baby Brandon, who was just about to be operated on. So I am currently at the Kenyatta National Hospital Children's Ward with Mama Brandon, and this is baby Brandon, who in just a few minutes will be going to the operation room. It's all about the hernia project 2016, which is an annual project done by the Kenyatta National Hospital.
It was around 2014. Ndio nikaanza kunotice there is something amiss. Nikimwangalia naona kuna kitu haiko normal. That's when I went to a hospital and the doctor mwenye nilipata huko directed me to Kenyatta. Then I started coming here to Kenyatta. That's when I found the doctor and said that he had the undecided testicles and it must be done an operation. I started coming here at last year January. He was diagnosed. Then that's when the doctors said that he was to go to the theater on December, but he didn't go because it was on a Christmas Eve. Then it was postponed to March. Then when I came to March, it was then when the doctor said there was this project hernia that was to be done on April, and I have to come on that time. Then when I came on that April, the project was there and I was on the list to go to the theater.
Step 2. We set out to the operation room, which was quite an experience for us, since the last time I was in the theater I was a patient, but this time I was here for this story. We are now at the Kenyatta National Hospital at the operation room, or better known to you as the theater, where two kids are currently going through the operation of the hernia project. We are going to be speaking to the doctor just to give us an insight on what the hernia project is all about.
Hernia project usually has two components. That's the hernia of the groin and the hernia of the umbilicus. Hernia of the groin is the most common, and it usually involves part of the visceral part of the abdominal contents protruding into the groin. It's very common, especially in boys and also in girls, but the ratio of boys to girls is usually between 9 to 1. It's more commoner in children who have been born before time, those who we call prematures, and those ones, it can actually occur both sides. The complaints is usually a child, either the intestines or part of the abdominal content, when they go into the groin, there's occlusion of blood supply and the child will complain of pain. Most of the times it is able to just return back to the abdomen by itself, but other times you have to manipulate it back. Now there are fewer cases where those abdominal content do not return. And if they don't return and there's no blood supply to them, then they may die off if that hernia is obstructed and it stays for a longer time. So those ones then present as emergencies who need surgery within the next 1 to 2 hours. This project was actually started because the numbers of such cases is too big and there are very few pediatric surgical centers in the country. Apart from Kenyatta, you remember the next one is in MTRH, that is Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and the one in Kijabe. So those are the three main centers. So the numbers that we are recruiting, they are above 100, and we could only be doing like 5 in a week. You see, that would require so many weeks to complete, and yet these are urgent surgeries. So we decided to be consolidating all those cases so that one complete week we are just doing the hernia cases. We usually plan around 70 cases per year. This same for this year, our target is 72 children. So far we are almost hitting that target. By today we'll have done 54. So by tomorrow we could complete that number. There are only 3 main centers that do pediatric surgery. So most of the children from other counties are referred here, and these cases are too many. So because of the numbers and because of the urgency of those conditions, we decided to be having a week where we perhaps call everyone and ensure you have many tables, and we consolidate all those cases to just reduce the waiting time. Usually for every theater day, the selection criteria for that day is age. You start with the youngest and you finish with the eldest. In terms of feeding, a very young one cannot stay without food for many hours as opposed to a much older child. So we usually use the age as the criteria. Yes, that is for elective. For emergency, whoever is obstructed goes in first. We have 2 teams of anesthetists, so we are counting around 10 anesthetists. Then we have 15 surgeons, and we have another count of 15 nurses per day. Then we have what you call anesthetist assistants. We have what you call others. It's a big one because we need people who will carry those children from the wards to theater, the porters, security, the nurses in the ward. Or we have a team of 50 personnel for each project, 50 per year. The project is free, so long as you have NHIF, because the NHIF pays. But if you don't have NHIF, then it's costly. The cost is between 30 and 40,000. So the safest route is every parent to ensure they have NHIF, because if you have that, everything is free.
Next up, we were back at the children's ward where we met Mary Wamboi, also known as Mama Victor. Baby Victor had just been operated on 2 days ago and was ready to be discharged. But first, we had to find out how exactly did she find out about the disease.
Nili notice side moja ya testis inafula on light. After nili find out, nilienda kwa hospitali. Daktari ananiambia maybe akifikisha 3 years itakuwa sawa. Nikaenda hospitali ingine, nikatumwa na daktari Kenyatta, nikaanza clinic. Nikabukiwa operation, ilikuwa mwezi wa 8 tarehe 8. Later nikapigwa simu nikaambiwa kuna project ya hernia nikuje. Sasa ndio tukapewa tarehe ya kukuja. Tukakuja on Tuesday, akafanyiwa operation jana. Vile alikuwa na hiyo ya side moja ilikuwa inafura wakati anacheka ama analia, lakini wakati amerelax iko sawa. Lakini sasa ninaona hata akicheza iko na different. Ukiona mtoto wako maybe amefura pahali, usipuuze, lazima ukonsult daktari, sababu inaweza kuwa shida umenyamazia tu, akuwe mkubwa urealize baadaye imletee shida. I would like to say thank you to all Kenyatta doctor, nurses wenye wamehusika na hii project. We thank them sababu wametusaidia sana.
All the 72 operations this year were successful, and we are looking forward to next year when the next hernia project will be on, and as Parastatal TV, we shall definitely be there to update you. For Parastatal TV, I am PK Wanjiro. Many thanks for joining us. You're definitely watching Parastatal TV, the station that promotes the role of state cooperation, and I am your host, PK Wanjiro. This is Frontline. Today we are privileged to be hosting the Chief Executive Officer of Mentor Sacco. Now, Mentor Sacco Society Limited is a modern, fast-growing financial institution in the country. It was established way back in 1977 as Moranga Teachers Savings and Credit Society. Now, initially, it was basically to serve teachers in Moranga district, but the membership has, however, been diversified to include other areas as well. To help us understand better about Mentor Sacco Society is none other than Mr. Charles A.K. Irongo, who is the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin by first introducing to our viewers who is Mentor Sacco Society Limited.
Mentor Sacco Society It's a savings and credit cooperative society based in Murang'a town, serving members in the Republic of Kenya.
Yes.
And as you are very much aware, currently we are serving teachers and members from other departments within Murang'a and within the Republic of Kenya. Yes.
All right. What prompted you probably to enter in your line of business?
Initially, our organization was a teacher-based organization, and it was only offering services of savings.
Yes.
But thereafter, due to competition in the world, we decided to be offering our members simple financial services. And that is now when the organization was started the back office, the front office. So now we are offering services in the back office and in the front office. Yes, yeah, yes.
All right, and probably what services are offered in the SACCO that makes it unique?
One of the most important services which we offer to our members is the loaning, that is offering them credit facilities.
Yes.
Then we also encourage them to accumulate their savings, mobilize their savings, that is.
And probably what are the benefits? For instance, somebody who's watching and they might be interested in joining the SACCO, what are some of the benefits?
Okay, once they accumulate their savings, at the end of the year or after our financial year, we offer them very high returns, that is dividends and interest on their savings. At the same time, once they accumulate their savings, we offer them credit facilities at a lower interest compared to other financial institutions. Yes.
What's probably, if you can give us the figures, what's your interest rate?
Our interest rate is at least 6.5% per annum.
Okay.
Yes.
And probably you say that you give your members very high dividends. Can you give us probably the numbers? What's the highest dividends that you've probably paid out before?
In fact, in 2015, in the year 2015, we managed to pay a category of Mazao shares at a rate of 13.7%.
Wow. That's 13.7%. So why is it important for the public to bank with Mentor SACCO? Because I understand there are so many other SACCOs out there. Why is it important? Probably, how can you convince me to join Mentor SACCO?
Okay, the reason why you should convince you to join Mentor SACCO is that once you join Mentor SACCO, we are able to understand your financial problems, and we can be able to advise you even where to invest, and also how to handle your finances. So people from different categories, that is the business community, the civil servants, we are able to advise them very well how to handle their finances. And with that one, they are able to handle their problems. For example, they are able to invest. They are able to educate their children. They are also able to handle any financial institution which come across in their day-to-day life. Yes.
And probably how much should somebody, maybe a client who's interested, what's the minimum that is required to be contributed, probably monthly?
We start with at least only 500 shillings. If one is able to raise 500 shillings a month, we can be able to accommodate him or her, and we continue with that trade. Yes.
And I would also want to know, because you say that you give out loans. Yes. Supposedly, I joined today. Yeah. After how long am I qualified to access a loan from your facility?
It depends with the customer, the need of the customer, because maybe you can even join Mentor today, but depending with the transactions you are handling. For example, a business person.
Yes.
one might be in need of money, maybe to promote the business or to improve the business status. So once we understand the operations of that person, we can be able to loan him or her. Yeah, provided we have researched and also seen that that person is in a position of repaying that loan. Yes.
And what if they default? What are the consequences? Probably, has that happened before?
Actually, for the defaulters, we try to first of all start loaning a person with at least a low amount of money, not the huge amount of money, because you see people get excited when they get huge amounts of money.
Yes.
So when one is repaying that loan, we are able to understand the character of that person. Yes. Yeah, so we can be able to know the financial discipline of that customer. Yes, and with the time we continue advising the person. So after that, we keep on adding the amount of money which one can be loaned. Yeah. So first of all, the most important thing is to understand the customer.
Yes.
Yes.
And I would want to know what's your measuring stick in terms of financial discipline? How are you able to weigh that? Is it in terms of the frequency of withdrawing?
Yeah, one of the most important thing is one, you get the transactions from that customer, the deposits, the withdrawals. With that one, you can tell the character of a person as far as finances are concerned. And at the same time, the frequency of borrowing.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's the maximum of repaying a loan? Supposedly, I qualify for a loan, or does it depend with the agreement that I have with your institution?
We have loans or credit facilities starting from 6 months to 72 months.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely, I'm sure in your line of business there are challenges. Kindly make us understand what are some of the challenges, starting with the biggest to the least.
One of the most crucial challenges is the demand. You have to meet the demand of the customers, because each and every person within the world is in need of money.
Oh, so definitely, at how many like what's your clientele base? How many customers are we looking at here?
Right now we are serving about 18,000 members.
18,000 members.
Yes.
That's a good number. And you have how many branches?
We have 3 main branches. That is Muranga being the headquarter. We have a branch at Keno, and we also have a branch at Nairobi within Gala area. Yes.
There's somebody who's watching this at home, and they are asking, is it a must that I come from Muranga County for me to be a member of Mentor Circle?
No. We are serving members from the Republic of Kenya. Yes.
And do you have maybe plans of one day maybe becoming a fully fledged bank?
No, we would like to be identified as a savings and credit cooperative society. Yeah, we have no intentions of becoming a bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In case you're joining us, with me today is the Chief Executive Officer of Mentor Circle. That is Mr. Charles, aka Irongo. It's very easy for you to join Mentor Circle. So probably if you're looking for a savings society that can be able to build you something that you're looking for, a society that can be able to help you financially, look no further than Mentor Circle. We take a short break, but don't you touch that dial. We'll be back in just a short while. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
Parastatal Africa magazine is a media platform that enables African state corporations to share development projects and experiences, both through the printed and internet editions, covering the news and future events, pictorials, products and services, among others. We are keen on bridging the communication challenges that have existed between the public and state corporations. We seek a common ground where government, parastatals and the various publics can share and work together with the aim of transforming our continent. Our vision is to be the leading and most reliable avenue for Africa's state corporations and connecting with the public in service delivery. Currently, we have pilot offices in Uganda, Tanzania, Botswana, South Africa and Nigeria. Parastatal Africa magazine, connecting Africa state development.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Many thanks for joining us. You are definitely on Parastatal TV, the station that's promoting the role of state corporations. I am your host, PK 10, and this is the Frontline. Now, this lovely day, we are very much privileged to be hosting one of the top guys when we talk about security matters in this country. He is a holder of a master's degree in international relations and of course a bachelor's degree in arts and a postgraduate diploma in international relations from the University of Nairobi. Now, he started way back in 1989. He has an amazing story because he started as an assistant secretary and rose to the ranks to the position of district commissioner. Now, he was later promoted to the position of senior AP Commander 1 in 2012. That is prior to his current position as the Deputy Inspector General of Police. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about one Mr. Samuel Arachi. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. And we'll start basically by wanting to know, how has the AP's role in the society evolved from way back the days of the village headman ordinance?
The AP traces his roots in around 1902, during the colonial era, and the service has grown from 1902. Basically, for those who may not be aware about the AP service,
yes,
during the colonial era, the British rule, there was a need to control the natives, and therefore the use of the tribal police. Essentially, I would say, and these are my own words, they would look for bullies. And this, the history of the 5'8", must be a tall, strong African male to be able to subdue the African for purposes of tax collection. You've heard about the poll tax, the hard tax.
Yes, yes.
And these the origins of the AP service. With the time it grew to the tribal ordnance police up to 1958, actually, when the AP became more centralized, and the training for the AP then started in Ruringo, Nyeri. In those years, you'll find that APs were trained regionally. The APs in Turkana would have their own uniforms and training in Turkana. The coast region would be trained in the coast region and their uniforms to suit the climate in those areas. But eventually, in 1958, that's when the Administration Police Act was enacted, giving it now a national phase. and eventually the central training now relocating to the current Calvary Battalion 75 in Embakasi Battalion, which was our first home in Nairobi before relocating to our current training college in Embakasi in 1972. So it has been quite a long history for the AP.
It's a story.
It's a long story.
Now, I understand there are so many benefits that we've seen with the enactment of the new constitution, and I would want to know, how has AP revamped, the Administration Police Service revamped from the enactment of the new constitution?
I remember before the current constitution, which was promulgated in August 2010, the AP was not constitutionally anchored in the constitution. And remember, in those years, under Cap 85, actually the commandant of the AP was the Minister for Internal Security.
I didn't know that.
Yes. This is what many people didn't know. Actually, the then commandant was an appointee of the minister, who by law was the commandant of the AP.
Okay.
Until the current laws and the constitution, which for the first time now anchored the AP in the constitution under Article 243 as one of the constituent services forming the National Police Service. So under the old laws, the minister, who was you remember under the old constitution, a minister actually was a member of parliament, which meant actually the head of the AP was a political head.
Political affiliations then.
But not under the new constitution, under the independence of the National Police Service, under the Inspector General, and the distinct functions of each of the two services, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, we are able now much better to focus on our mandate and discharge that mandate to secure the Kenyan people and their property.
Probably there are so many Kenyans out there who don't really understand the structures within the Administration Police Service. Can you kindly break it down for us?
Thank you. Yeah, it has not been understood actually. The structures that we have in place, at the apex of the service we have the Deputy Inspector General, where I sit, and these are positions now which are competitively bidded for, carry out public interviews, and then if you succeed, only to note that you must be a serving police officer of over 15 years in service. Now from the Inspector General we have the Provincial Command. The command now starts with the regions, where we have regional commanders, we have county, and here I want to make it very clear, the regional commands are for purposes of helping the Deputy Inspector General to man the country. Remember, we have two structures of government, the national government and the county government. So the regional commanders, for example, we have 47 counties. It would be quite a challenge for me to listen every morning and every evening to 47 commanders across the country. So we've created a regional command so that we have one regional commander having 3 or 4 or 5 counties where he's able to concentrate on that and then report to me. And then we have the county commands. We have now the sub-county command, which are the former districts. And then we have the wards, the former divisions, and then the locations and the sub-locations. We are represented in that structure. From there we have special units. We have the Rural Border Patrol Unit. RBPU, as we call it, Rural Border Patrol Unit, discharges one of the functions of the AP in law. This is provision of border patrol and border security under the current National Police Service Act. So their work is to ensure that all our borders, from border point 1 to border point 29, Mandera to Kiunga, Somalia, is catered for. The border with Tanzania is well addressed, purposefully to counter illegal trade, contraband, human trafficking, drugs, movement of light weapons and small arms,
Yeah.
all these. And we have categorized now our borders into two. We have the soft border areas which you don't have much problems, and we have deployed officers in these areas, and then we have the Somalia border, which is quite problematic,
Yes.
where we put our efforts now, and we are building capacities of this unit to ensure that we are able to manage that border effectively. And if we do that now, we'll be able to counter infiltration by terrorists, by other bad elements, small arms, trade and so forth, like I've said, so that we're able to secure the country. The second unit is a rapid deployment unit.
Yes.
The purpose, which was actually the first unit that we formed, and it has built a name for itself.
Sure.
RDU was formed principally to deal with the conflict situations in the country where the local establishment, for example, officers in a particular county are not able to deal with a situation that has arisen, and therefore we are able to get RDU as a quick response team to go and deal with the situation and then come back for their other works with further situations. RDU and RBPU currently are deployed along our borders
Okay.
to do this work.
Specifically for that.
For that, there are special units meant to deal with this. The other unit that we have is the Specialized Theft Prevention Unit. Specialized Stock Theft Prevention Unit is a new unit, also which was created under the new laws. And I remember, under the new laws, the function of prevention of stock theft has been given to the AP. There is a unit which is maybe I need to add this before I come to that one.
Yeah.
The headquarters of RBPU is in Kitui, a place called Kanyonyo. The headquarters of RDU is in Embakasi.
Okay.
And the Specialized Stock Theft Prevention Unit is headquarters in West Pokot, Kapenguria.
Yes.
This unit is specifically meant to eradicate cattle rustling.
Okay.
And then we have SGB unit, and actually SGB is the oldest. Security of Government Buildings unit is actually the biggest unit. For those who may not know, that is where I was actually commandant for more than 10 years before I came here. Yes. This unit is situated in Nairobi West.
Okay.
Mbagathi Way. Like the name suggests, this unit specifically deals with three things. First, started with giving security to government buildings.
Yes.
For example, in Nairobi, if you go to Harambee House, if you go to Treasury, key government buildings and infrastructures, you will find these officers.
Okay.
Second, this is the unit which gives VIP protection to all government officers.
Wow. Okay.
Very few Kenyans know this.
Know about that, yeah. Sure.
Yes. This is a unit who gives protection to government officials in the country. Other than that one, also we give security for cash in transit. So movement of this of money in this country, we are responsible. We ensure that it is secure. That's something that we do.
Sure.
This unit SGB also provides security to Kenya Revenue Authority, customs,
Yes.
all border points across the country, from Migori to Lokichogio. All border points. It's a responsibility of this unit to ensure that revenue is collected. Maybe we can even say, actually, since the creation of this unit, very few people may be able to link it that way, but this one we've seen actually even revenue collection going up.
Okay.
Other than that, another very critical infrastructure for the government, oil pipeline. We have a unit which takes care of the pipeline from Mombasa to Western Kenya. All pumping stations are secure by officers of this unit SGB, so that movement of fuel from the port of Mombasa, and remember actually some of the countries in East and Central Africa, landlocked country, Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, get their fuel through Kenya. So this unit ensures that fuel and the pipeline is not interfered with. Remember, the oil pipeline is not an investment for Kenya alone. It has a regional interest and implications. So the security of the pipeline is very critical for the country and for the entire region. This is a responsibility of the AP.
I would want to know, and probably I'm sure there are people who would want to know, how unique is the administration police service training as compared to other police services?
Yeah, one, the administration police training is fully paramilitary.
Paramilitary. Okay.
Yes. The AP service is a paramilitary service. So from the recruit who is in college today up to the commandant, each one of them have undergone a paramilitary training. And what does this mean? Actually, paramilitary means that you are a notch lower than the full military training.
Okay.
Other than the other normal police work, we emphasize on a field craft and skill terms because of the nature of our deployment.
Yes.
Because we must tackle very difficult terrains. We must deal with cattle rustlers in very difficult circumstances. We are the borders, so we must prepare these people for them to be able to handle those tasks in those difficult situations. So the AP is a full paramilitary force.
Yes.
We emphasize on the hard bit.
Okay.
You could say that actually the APs could be very good hunters for the bad elements.
Yes.
So that's how different it is from maybe from the other police service, because basically they are on narrow maintenance and so forth, which you also train on, but ours we go a notch high in terms of the other operations that we must carry out for this country.
Okay. Now, I would love to know, because of late there's been increase in terms of criminal trends. So what are some of the new training horizons that you're undertaking to be in line with the rising criminal trends, especially right here in the country?
We are talking now about terrorism.
Yes, sure.
And unless we are able to mount trainings, and there's now the divergence of what we are doing to be able to counter the new threats that you're talking about. Terror threats.
Yes.
We are facing them. Then what are we doing in terms of doing that one? Counter terrorism training.
Counter terrorism training.
Training.
Is it for everyone, for all the recruits?
One, it is for everyone.
Okay.
The recruits, but two, now you go to the advanced levels. For all teams which are operating in the difficult areas, northeastern, those borders, must undergo counter-terrorism training. This in the border school in Kitui. And then after that, for the advanced tactical courses, we train them in our training grounds in Kitui, a place called Kadolongwe. Very few people know where this is.
I don't know where.
You don't know where that is, eh?
Yes.
So this way we take them for advanced tactical training on counter-terrorism. And then other than that, what else are we doing? We've come up with a now emphasis on formed units. And that is why we established the QRTs, quick response teams. Now, what is happening now in the country, and for the AP service, each county in the country, we have trained one QRT of a platoon strength. These are about 36 officers. This means that team which is in County A, for example, if it is Kiambu, there is that team which has given advanced training, tactical training. If there is any problem in Kiambu County, instead of waiting for reinforcements from Nairobi, that team will be tasked, they are terrorists in a certain building, they will move in quickly and deal with that situation and go back to their work. Every county in the country has got a QRT.
Excellent.
Every sub-county in the country, every district, we've trained a section, a team which is able to react quickly to situations.
In conclusion, I would like you to give us your parting shot, and I would want you to speak to Kenyans, because there are Kenyans who are watching this, and what is the special message that you'd like to give them as the Deputy Inspector General of Police who is in charge of the Administration Police Service?
The first thing that I would want to tell you Kenyans is you've partnered with the Administration Police Service to secure this country. We have not done this alone. Like we say, the AP are you Kenyans and you are the AP. We are one. We must continue supporting each other for us to be able to succeed.
Well, there you go. There is so much that you didn't know about the Administration Police Service, and who better to break it down for us than the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Samuel Arachi. I'm sure you've learned a lot. Myself, personally, there's a lot I've learned, and I know with time, we are definitely going to be engaging the National Police Service more, so that they can also tell us what is really happening, because it is our role as Parastatal TV to let you know what is really happening. We are promoting the role of state corporations. For Parastatal TV Frontline, I am PK10. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
Are you a business person? Where would you like your business to be in the next 5 years? Well, you don't have to wait for 5 years. Parastatal TV and Parastatal Africa magazine is now giving you a platform that will make this a reality by giving you affordable rates with an already wide viewership.
Call us now on 020-44-000-77 or 0791-799-998. Parastatal Africa, giving your business a helping hand to greater heights. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
I'm Chief Inspector Vane Kerubo. I work here in Langata as the Social Welfare Officer. Basically, I'm Mama Malilio. That's how we like to call it, because I deal with all issues concerning the prisoners and also our staff members and their families, concerning problems, but also in happy times and good times. The first thing a welfare officer does for a new admission is to ensure that issues at home have been settled out. So has the person been sorted out at the courts? Did they leave anything at the police station? Are the people at home aware of where this person is? Do you have a young child who needs to be sorted out and settled out in one way or another? So that's what the welfare officer does at the very beginning. We are very confident in the assistance we get through our stakeholders because, basically the open door policy opened the doors to stakeholders and all well-wishers who would like to work with us in the prisons. So whenever we need any kind of assistance, we can be able to stretch out our hand, and the society is also allowed to stretch its hand in and come and support us in any way possible.
My name is Chief Inspector Caroline Baini, in charge industry. Industry is part of the rehabilitation program that we have in prisons. We usually work with the long sentence inmates because the courses that we offer, the duration of the long sentence, an inmate can come in and complete all the courses. We usually have 11 sections. We have embroidery, we have knitting, we have crocheting, we have handcraft, fiber work, beads work, dressmaking, salon, we have pottery, and in the first step when the inmate comes in is booked in for vocational training, where she enrolls as a candidate qualified as a candidate to sit for the grade test. That is the government trade tests that she can attain a certificate in grade 3. That's the start point. Then grade 2, and then grade 1. And according to your sentence, if you have 5 years, you take 3 years for training, and then the 2 years for production, where you make use of the skills. And after graduating from the dressmaking, you enroll now to the other skills.
We get donations through the well-wishers, and also rehabilitative programs are supported through these well-wishers. We have church services, faith-based organizations that come in, NGOs, a company, even Parastatal Africa, they can decide to come tomorrow and do a CSR. That is part of being in Langata. The hospitality bit will be done in that section to ensure that both the society out there and the society inside works together.
Kuna kosi mingi sana, na venye hii hasira nilikuwa nayo nikipigana na huyo msichana juu mimi nilipigana nayo. Nishati nikaomba God tu anisamee juu ilikuwa ni vita. Sasa hapa nisha reform, nimejifunza mambo mingi. Kulikuwa na sababu ya Mungu kuingia mahali hapa.
My name is Jacqueline Onyango. I'm in charge of education section. This is the school. We have formal and informal education programs. Formal education programs, we have KCPE exams and KCSE. So basically, those who are eligible to come to school are mainly, we stress on the illiterate ones. Those ones undergo basic literacy classes where you're required to do reading and writing and simple arithmetic. They undergo proficiency tests that's offered by the government. They are grade tests. We have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. After which we also have a group that dropped out in their primary educations. Those who are still young, between 18 and 35. They do KCPE. First we take them through the classes, class 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If somebody had dropped in class 7, we take them to class 7 and then they enroll for the exams.
My name is Maslin Sikasa, Inspector. I'm in charge of the remand section. In the remand section we have categories of inmates who are still undergoing trial. They have not been convicted yet. We have the ordinary remands and the capital remands. Ordinary remands include the petty offences and the other cases that are not either robbery or murder. The murder cases are under capital remands and the robbery with violence cases. And so here we basically just containment, and the activities that will be there, like for the industry, are voluntary. They are not forced. They are not legally, they're not supposed to work, but just to keep them busy and to also help them with the rehabilitation and just to keep them busy and help them move on with their cases as they finish.
They do national exams. So far we've done 10 years, around 10 years. And the last year, the highest had 300, and the previous year it was 354. The first group of Form 4 will be doing the exams this year. They've done their Form 1, Form 2 and Form 3 in Langata women prisons, and they'll be sitting for the exam. We do this because you'll find that there are some of them who dropped out in Form 2, Form 3, and they're still young, and their sentences are short but long enough for them to complete the Kenya Certificate of Education. And it is proper that they have certification, because without a certificate it's very easy for you to get a placing if you want to further your education. But it's also that knowledge is just important for you to be able to adapt to the changes that we are having in the country and in our economy in order for you to perform well. Okay, apart from the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, other trainings that we have basic computer classes. We have the basic packages being trained to the inmates who have O-level education, as well as those who have completed Class 8, those who are able to read and write well and are able to speak in English. They go for the training. The certificates they are awarded they're sponsored by ZTech College in collaboration with one of our stakeholders, Faraja, so that the certificates that they are awarded with are recognized in the market. So that goes for both inmates and staff who are willing to do ICT, because ICT is important for each and every citizen currently. So apart from ICT, we also have students undertaking common law lessons.
The participants in the club are those who are getting ready to go home, and we come together to do different activities in knitting, catering, there is beadwork, and also we have the farm. So whatever monies we generate in the club, we use to develop the club and put some as token for assistance when we get home. At the moment, we have had up to 7 members who have left the club, and we were able to give them some small amounts of money that they can, as a startup capital for the businesses when they get back, when they get home.
I'm a clinical officer, chief inspector. Here, the level of health facility we have here is level 2. That is a dispensary, but somehow different compared to the ones outside the prison, such that we have 4 clinics here. We have a clinic for the staff and the community around, and then we have a clinic for the unconvicted prisoners. Then we have a separate clinic also for the convicted prisoners. And then we have another clinic for the comprehensive care for those who have HIV and TB. In the main services, we offer outpatient services, laboratory services. We also offer maternal and child health care services, antenatal care services, and nutritional care services, environmental health and sanitation services. And then we offer visiting, that is voluntary counseling for HIV, and that is that CCC, care for the HIV and the TB patient. Staff members, we have staff from the prison service and staff from the Ministry of Health. So we're working together. Okay, the dispensary is under the management of our nursing officer, that is the matron, and she's from the Ministry of Health.
My name is Doris Amtos Amase. I'm a lab technologist. I work at Langata Women Prison Dispensary Laboratory. We are 2 lab technologists. The work process starts at around 8:30, and that's when we start receiving our clients, both from the mates and the community from out. And the basic tests we do are malaria, we do random blood sugars, we do hemoglobin levels, and many others as routine tests. Here in the lab, the workflow usually starts with knowing the patient first and ensuring that the patient matches with the requisition. After that, we get a sample, and then we proceed with the processing of the sample as per the guidelines of that particular test. And then we dispatch the results and send the patient back to the doctor. If it's an emergency or something that needs to be attended to, we usually take the patient in person to the doctor so that the patient is given priority and treated accordingly.
Hii mkubwa wetu alitulete hapa tuibie Mungu kutoka sisi iko na siku leo tatu. Leo ni ya tatu. Bila tukaibia Mungu na mnaona mimi niko na hakuna kitanga. Lakini hiyo nguvu inabakisha. Ninaomba serikali yetu, ninaniomba etukumbuke.
My name is Sergeant Mary Kamau. I'm a child protection officer. I have done early childhood education. I am also in the welfare office. I usually work for the children. I facilitate the well-being of the children. They come here during the weekdays, working days, because their mothers are being deployed to some work in working parties, and we bring here 8 o'clock, where they come and take their porridge, that is breakfast, and then after taking their breakfast, there are some activities which are being carried here, like playing and changing them, napping them, and they also play with the toys. And also we have swings because we do outside activities.
Other trainings that we have are trainings that are offered by willing stakeholders. They come and sponsor, for example, maybe it's entrepreneurship classes, life skill classes. Like recently we had junior achievers training around 35 inmates in entrepreneurship. We have the President's Award for those who are ages 18 to 24. They undergo trainings, and you may have them being taken through the trainings. I am normally involved, though it falls under the welfare section. So any other training that we find a need of being done in school or we get sponsored is normally undertaken within the school, because we have a law that enables inmates to be enrolled and taken through the classes within the school region.
Depending on the different activities that prisoner will go through, at the very end, we work on a discharge board. In a discharge board, we bring in all stakeholders. They are members of that board, together with the committee that started with that particular client, and then they sit down and find out, is this client ready to go home? Are there issues that have been unresolved back at home? Is the family ready to receive them? The people whom had arguments and disagreements between them, is there need for reconciliation? Does this person have capital to start even a business with the skills that they have gotten and the certificates that they have gotten? And will this person settle back in society and not come back? So that is what a discharge board does. And now we also have aftercare. We work together with the probations and now the stakeholders who have taken up the responsibility of working in aftercare. So these people, we hand them over, and now they are back in society. They are ready to walk out there. So that then our work is done. We also have children who come in with their mothers, that is between 0 and 4 years. The children who come in that way, we try the level best we can to give them the best that a child deserves. I mean, this child did not commit any offense. This child has not wronged anybody. This child is innocent. This child needs that bonding, that relationship, that time to spend with their mother to be able to develop and grow in the right way possible.
My name is Olivia Bell. I'm in charge of Manhattan Maximum Prison. And in this prison, this is the only maximum women prison in the country. And in this prison we have two sections. We have the pre-trial section and we have the convict section. In the convict section, when the maximum given, you may find inmates with short sentences because this is the only prison within Nairobi County. Besides that, it holds longer sentence like life for them, 20, 30, 40 years in prison, imprisonment for convict or corporation offenders, and of course a number of trials. We have a number of partners who have come to support the rehabilitation programs in the prisons. Like you probably have seen in the pre-trial area, so resource center whereby remands who by law are not supposed to work but because they're idle, they're encouraged to actually participate in the resource center where they can maybe undertake sewing and their dressing. Some of them do that. We have now diversified into market-oriented kind of programs. As you may have seen the new bakery. It's also talent promotion, which is also undertaken here, like modeling, they design their clothes, they also have initiatives of their own, whereby we call it crime support, whereby after training, they're able to put in place kind of training that they like, so that crime support, which means that they have themselves have appreciated the fact that crime does not pay. And therefore, that's the slogan, crime support. So they're able to come up with something, and any revenue come from that is really kept for them.
Nisha reform, hata nikienda pale raia sitaki mambo mob, sitaki kujihusisha na mambo hata ma friends, ndachagua tu marafiki. Unaona sasa juu zingine unaweza jipata umejiingiza kwa marafiki wabaya. Sasa nimesoma somo nikiwa hapa gerezani, nimesoma somo. Sasa nikienda pale nje kutafuta tu job, nalea mtoi wangu poa, niliacha mtoi mmoja akiwa na mwaka mmoja, sasa ni msichana mkubwa, ako na 11 years.
Besides that, of course, they have this formal and informal education. We also think we have computer section, also education primary section, and also secondary section. Besides that, we also have partners who are supporting our inmates to study law, which diploma law class, that is third year with an organization from the UK. And important thing to say that we also have a farm section where we have to come. Besides that, I would say that in putting together with all the programs and interventions that we have put in place, which are focused for integration, we'd only call on the community like society to accept our inmates back, because they come to the community and they go back to the community, and that's where they belong. They don't belong in the prison setting. So once we've done our part, we'll appeal to the community and the partners to come in and also work with the government and the facility, so that we can concertedly work together for the integration of our offenders back to the community, so that they can contribute to community development.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
Parastatal TV.
Parastatal TV.
Parastatal TV.
think it's a good move.
There is a new concept which will actually bring out the story of government.
It's a mouthpiece.
I'm glad you're joining this army of sassy fly eradication in Africa.
It's a welcome idea. It's an idea whose time has come.
Without exaggerations or without actually putting more salt or more sugar, I might tell you guys, you are on the right track.
Nobody has ever covered us with what we do. What we get mostly, we get stones thrown at us, what we haven't done, and nobody really looks at what we have done.
Anytime one talks about government, especially in the media, is about the negatives. And truly speaking is that there's always the positive side of government, which is never highlighted.
Most of the media, actually, and that's most of the cases we have had here, that every time they come and cover, they go and give the wrong feedback or the negative feedback.
Please be part of us. Please help us to disseminate this information so that Africa can be free from this primitive scourge.
Parastatal TV will go a long way to give it that positive story.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. A very good afternoon to you and many thanks for joining us on Parastatal TV. You are definitely watching Frontline. I am your host PK Wanjiro. Now, a couple of days ago, I had the privilege to interview the Deputy Inspector General of Police who is in charge of the Administration Police Service, that is none other than Samuel Arachi. We are also privileged to get an interview, an exclusive interview actually, with the second man in command, that is the principal deputy to the Deputy Inspector General of Police. Is none other than Mr. Fred Moy. Now, before we get into the interview, I would want him to just make a general statement as a follow-up to what we discussed with the Deputy Inspector General of Police. Mr. Moy, welcome.
Thank you, Kamau, and my pleasure to have you visit us.
Yes.
This is the AP headquarters, and this is actually the point from where we run the affairs of the service. As a national service, we have quite a widespread of personnel in the service. We are deployed in 47 counties.
Yes.
326 roughly sub-county commands. And of course more than 2,500 outposts. Basically, out of our workforce, almost 75% plus are working in the outposts.
Okay.
Very, very local level, very grassroots points of service delivery, probably unrivaled in any other government agency. In addition to those county commands, which now manage the outposts, the more than 2,500. We have 5 units that are operations based, support these counties, and we have 3 training formations.
Okay.
And basically, these generally provide what you would call as administrative support, training support,
operational support
yes,
to these counties. We also have in the headquarter here, the hub of the service, we have about 7 directorates and about 5 sub-directorates. Again, all of them are involved in various administrative activities, just to ensure smooth operations and the smooth delivery of policing services to the country.
Now, mainly, I would want to know, what can you tell us about the core competencies that is in the administration police service, and also how the cadet program, to be specific, has aided to add value to the administration police service?
When you talk of competencies, we are looking at quite a number of factors. One is obviously what drives the service in terms of the capability to deliver quality services. And this will range from the knowledge bank that we have, composed of various skills and attitude, composed of various qualifications by officers at different levels. One of the competencies is the training level that allows an officer to live comfortably with communities without stressing himself or without straining with the community. That ability to mix very well and support the community, bring them together to understand their role, but also at the same time the ability to deal with any threat to peace and security, whether in terms of interdiction, whether it is apprehension, whether it is preventive, whether it is intelligence. That is not a competence that you find in many other organizations, particularly when you look at it's the spread. Almost every personnel is able to comfortably work anywhere in the country. The other competences relate to the ability to apply both training and also the basic equipment. And we do not have as much sophistication in terms of the equipment that we use, but the ability to innovate with the resources that we have and deliver what would be good quality services. That combination of skill and ability to put to use minimal resources to achieve much greater success than would be ordinary is something that we are proud of. And of course that combines with some of the recent developments in the service, which include what you've just mentioned, the cadet program, which is about 10 years now since we began to recruit that cadre of graduate officers. This will be largely in 2 areas. There is the general commander cadre, but there are also specialists. Specialists in the sense of skills that we did not ordinarily have. And this would be in the field of forensic, in the field of law, in the field of finance. These are skills that that we have, including GIS and information management, ICT. These are now staff that we now have in the service. We are putting them to proper use, particularly in managing investigations, basically related to our functions. We are putting these skills in improving the quality of administration in the service and command. We are also putting these skills in managing, for instance, the resources that we have at our disposal, including fleet, that is vehicles, transport, and many other fields. So when we look at the kind of value that this group has brought, we are not merely looking at only the specialists. We are also looking at the quality of administrative function that we can now see. But also there is also something that comes with a little bit of those who have taken time to study it at a higher level, because they are able to understand and to help the service interrogate social developments that affect policing.
Sure.
Some of the challenges that we are facing from associated with stress within families, technology that is coming, globalization. These are young people who are able to conduct research, who are able to interrogate and engage with the outer world, not only in the business fraternity but also the academia, and deliver to us quite impressive recommendations that way forward on some of the social problems that generate crimes that probably are new to our world. Yeah.
Now, that is about the cadet training program, but very few Kenyans, and I have to admit this, I just learnt of this recently, that within the administration police service, you also have an overseas training. Tell us something about the overseas training within the APS.
We have quite a good number of officers who have benefited from training programs in overseas countries. Largely, these are fully sponsored by our development partners. Some are partly sponsored, again, and the government meets the other portion of the training.
Yes.
The last, let's begin with about 6-7 years, we have head officers who have gone for courses in, for instance, border security, which is one of our functions.
Yes.
And in fact, I must add that the border patrol unit is basically the concepts and the idea. We picked it from some of our partner nations who are very well advanced in their border management. We have officers who have also been able to undergo advanced training in academic fields in countries such as US, China, parts of Europe. And these officers have come back with a specialization in transport, in engineering, in chemical biology areas, in ICT. The other aspect that we have benefited is a particularly more important area of police operations, particularly from Europe.
Yes.
And this has enabled us to much more better tackle emerging threats. The courses in terrorism fighting, in radicalization, in investigation. All these are programs that have enabled the service put in and benefit in improving the quality of personnel, both at operational, that's really street policing level, and their supervisors, to also senior commanders.
Okay.
So we are not talking of a minimal benefit, it's quite substantial.
Yeah. But it is not restricted maybe to theory only.
No. Some of these programs include quite a bit of policing practicals within some of those countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you've given me so much confidence knowing that within the APS we know there are people who are trained outside there. But then again, just in conclusion, apart from corruption, one of the biggest fears amongst Kenyans out there is the issue of insecurity. We know the National Police Service has done its best, but you've been the second in command in within the Administration Police Service. What would be your parting shot on security situation in Kenya?
Of course, we fully understand the apprehension that Kenyans have.
Yes.
Anytime we have holidays, and largely because of our the last 2 or so years, related to terrorism.
Yes.
There are also fears as political campaigns seem to be peaking, and the question of gangs, possibly criminal gangs, and the generally, fear of burglary and other crimes that are associated with any community. But we have ourselves have put in place additional measures beginning this year. They are not aimed only to boost the security during the Easter holidays, but also going beyond to the end of the year. And next year, as we gear up for campaigns in elections. And part of these initiatives have benefited from the recent graduation. We received 4,000 new officers. Those ones we have deployed them in areas where we had gaps. In the pastoralist areas, we can assure people there that they can add a few additional livestock, knowing that nobody will take them away. Courtesy of the numbers that we have put there and the additional training that we have provided to the team that we added to the commands in all those counties that experience cattle rustling and influx in terms of gun-related crime. We also have specialized equipment, the APCs given to us by the government. In addition to that, for northeastern and areas that are likely to have threat of terrorism, we have also done the same. We have, without telling you the numbers, we have healthy numbers, additional, and I can tell you that our visibility, and not only the visibility but also the quality of the men who are patrolling the rural areas is far much higher, and nobody needs to fear. If you are a traveler, just get into your bus, travel where you want. You find us ready for anybody who may want to disrupt your travel. For those in the urban areas, again, that number is much more healthier. The rural areas, in the agricultural areas, in the rural border posts, all these are areas that we have significantly increased. We will keep on speaking to everybody who wants a secure country, who wants a secure place for their business, for their, for their home. And I am confident come out that we will not have the kind of instances that sometimes we've seen in the past, be they terrorist related, be they gangs, or even ordinary criminals who may just want to cause havoc. My final word on our policing agenda. We know, and of course the corruption perception report has been released, and we've seen the ministry where we belong, and certainly the police service is still being mentioned not in a very positive light. And all we are saying is to Kenyans to believe in us and to allow us a little time, but to be sure that we are very determined to clean our stable. Sometimes people want to believe what they may have experienced in the past, probably last week, yesterday, and they may not give us an opportunity to see the change that overnight we achieve. We will ensure that integrity in the National Police Service, and particularly in the AP, is brought to the standards that it should. We should be able to account for any action, and where we go wrong, we will be ready to discuss. The last month alone, the Inspector General has finalized a corruption prevention plan for the National Police Service. and of course a rights observance document that is now available to us. Okay. These two areas have been an area where our image has not fared well.
Yeah, it's true.
But we in the service command with the Inspector General's office,
yes,
and particularly the reform desk there, we are determined, and I can assure you that within a short time, at least Kenyans will have a police service that they will be proud of.
Sure.
They shouldn't give up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Principal Deputy to the Deputy Inspector General, Mr. Fred Mwai. One thing I've picked out is when you see the administration police officers and any other police officer out there, it's not only about visibility, but the quality behind that person. What an amazing way to end this. And he's also assured you that you are free to go to anywhere that you want because your security is guaranteed and of essence. Just give the National Police Service as a whole just more time to deal with this menace called corruption. What a way to end this. For Parastatal TV Frontline, I am your host, PK Wanjiru. See you next time. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Many thanks for joining us on Parastatal TV. I am your host, Paul K. Wanjiru, and this is Frontline. Now today we talk about the Tourism Finance Corporation. Now this is the organization that has a mandate of facilitating and also providing affordable development, funding and advisory services. We are talking about long-term investments in the tourism industry. Now today I am privileged to host the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Orumoi T. Jonah, who before his appointment earlier this year was the head of finance and ICT at the Kenya Tourism Board. Now at KTB, he was charged with directing and also financing and ICT teams, business operations, and of course strategic decisions, financing, planning, analysis, corporate systems, and management of the years in financial management system. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jonah T. Orumoi, how are you, sir?
Absolutely fine. Thank you very much for the detailed introduction.
I'm so honored and privileged to be having you. Now, how will you describe yourself, probably for a person who's getting to hear about you for the first time?
Well, I'll actually say I'm more a person who's, I'm actually more someone who's actually outgoing, and I'm a leader who's out there to actually bring the better out of people, trying to find solutions for things, trying to work with people to actually create strong teams. I think I'll say I'm more a people's person and a people's leader in terms of exactly what I do, and basically in my field of finance and management.
Now, you've slightly been at TFC for well over 2 months now.
Yes.
According to you, I'm sure leadership mostly is all about return on investment. So tell us how you're responding to current and emerging needs of your customers and stakeholders, and of course the shareholders at TFC.
Many of the things that I will say for the last 2 months that we've actually been able to sit down to do with the team is, first of all, you remember it used to be called KTGC. Yes. So it's actually first, let us first talk about Tourism Finance Corporation, because a market out there is still thinking about KTGC. So that branding perspective to start coming out. If you actually see the last few months, a lot of information has been starting going out in terms of what do we do, be it on social media, actually when you go back to materials that are going out to the industry. And one thing that we've actually mainly got back to do is actually look at actually our funding model. how do we intend to see the funding model in future. So those are the quick wins which we actually now working round, and also to look at what are the tourism investment opportunities right now to drive this country in the next 10-15 years. As you know, the institution was formed in 1965. So being in 1965, it's over 50 years old. So the wealth of information in this institution is quite large. So how do we actually just tweak that a little bit to be able to achieve the Vision 2030? Yeah, absolutely.
So apart from the rebranding, I'm sure there are a couple of challenges that the institution has been facing for the past few years, and being the new man at the helm, how do you plan maybe to tackle the challenges of tomorrow?
The challenges for tomorrow, especially being a financial institution and being government, I actually look at them as opportunities. We are not like any other bank that will actually go and borrow money internationally at very high rates and being able to have a lot of demands with it. We have a right, we can pass through the national government, through our ministry, to be able to get concessional loans. And these concessionals can actually drive a quick return on investment on the economy. As you well know right now, tourism is one very key sector. Whilst it's not been performing because of other areas, we also need to change as TFC, look at what model do we need to start funding. Because if you look over the so many years, we've actually started funding hotels and building a lot of hotels, bringing new chains into the country. So you have the Radisson Blues coming on board, we have the Kepiskins who have come on board. Now, where do we go from that? It's not just about hotels. It's about recreation facilities. It's about reducing poverty. Tourism is about reducing poverty. Because when you look at it, all the national parks, they're within more or less the communities. So how do you actually make tourism become the actual wheel that actually turns around the economy, at the same time turns the livelihood of people? So that is something that, as we keep on going right now and looking forward, is something that we are actually putting a lot of effort into that to be able to achieve that. And we believe that with extremely good support from government and from a ministry which is there for us, we should be able to provide very, very marketable solutions, which not only will be for the private sector, it will also be for the communities who, as you well know, Kenya relies heavily on tourism, and the communities that are there are central to that. So how do we actually have a package that at the same time drives that? And our solution is very simple. We will have to find also partners abroad who are willing to work with us. At the same time as we get concessional loans, work with these partners to actually drive an economic model for communities which actually need to benefit from tourism.
You've just mentioned that you have a couple of investments, innovative investments that have been financed by TFC. But you understand very well that TFC is not the only financing institution in the tourism industry. So I'd like to know, and maybe for those of us who are watching us from home, what makes TFC unique?
I think something about TFC which is really different from, be it the banks that you see out there or any other institution, is TFC, as we speak itself, with its mandate being a developing financial institution, is the second one in Africa. So it is the second one. The only place that we actually have such an institution again is South Africa, which has actually been able to work to develop the area. So we have a model that can actually make the sector actually grow. So it's an institution at the pillar of tourism itself. And in addition to that, as we keep on offering the mortgages, the loans to the companies and the rest, you will find that, for example, our rates are very competitive. They're not like a bank. If you actually go to a bank now and you're a hotelier and you say you want to borrow a loan, they will tell you 21% to actually build your property. But what about tourism? Tourism is a very fragile industry, because it has to deal with perceptions. So you will find that banks actually rate tourism as a risk product to them, because by the time you build a hotel, by the time you complete the return on investment takes quite a while, about 7 years, 8 years. So with that, very few banks will actually take it up quickly because they know it's a risk element. So how do we come in? We come in and offer it at about 9 to 10%, and that is the rate that we are currently offering with those loans that we actually have to provide. So we actually bridge that gap throughout the sector and actually make people come on board. And we actually basically fund anything that will actually make anybody enjoy Kenya, from a small pub on the corner all the way to a Kempinski on the corner. We actually work with that. And those who we see the investment is very large, we also talk to them and find incentives in government to actually drive them. And we bring other partners on board. For example, TRA, we bring them on board to assist in the classification process when we're building the hotels. So even if they need letters to be written, for example, if they're importing hotel equipment, we actually in the fixtures and fittings for hotels. We also provide that support by working with the parent ministry to actually facilitate that investor from the beginning to the moment they actually open their doors. And as you well know, you know about Kenya Tourism Board. We have to work with them. Because once we build the hotels, we have to sell that package to Kenya Tourism Board to actually start selling it. So it's a whole, as you can actually see, the sector itself and the ministry itself has actually been designed in a way that all these institutions are all interconnected in terms of what they actually do to the sector. And we are the only one ministry to say that is well connected like that. I don't think you can give me an example which is well connected like that.
Yes, I agree. I'm sure you'll also agree with me. When you're in business, one of the greatest risks that you can take in business is not to take a risk itself. So I'll want to find out what are some of the risks that you're currently undertaking to push the institution to new frontiers in terms of partnerships, in terms of market share.
Yes, many of the things which we are coming up now, as people might look at, for example, county governments, is something for us. We don't term it as a risk, but an opportunity, because at the same time, with devolution comes with opportunities, and it come opportunities on sectors, especially on tourism, which were never before actually exposed. I can give you a very good example. When our minister went to open up Moi National Park, when you go to that section of Kenya, it wasn't that much developed. But with county government being on board, it's a risk we are taking as TFC to actually start investing in new areas that before were not actually so-called economic viable. And through that is it when that will actually build up a very good economic model for all the counties.
Okay. So you're closely working with the county governments as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Which are some of the counties probably that you're working closely with?
The main counties that we've actually, which we were also part of meeting them, having meetings with them, one of them is Narok County is one of them, and we also have Mombasa County is another one. We've just been having discussion just the other day with Nakuru County on exactly what needs to be done to actually move Nakuru. As you well know, Nakuru has really grown over the few years, and very soon it will be actually a very big model of economy with all the industries and the agriculture sector that is growing there. So how can tourism actually be actually a key pillar for that? And we've actually met with them, and there's a few things we're working on to be able to build that. And also other areas that we are also opening up, or we've been a little bit also risky, is also going back to the financial sector, trying to talk to people. What products, for example, insurance companies, are you offering to the tourism stakeholders? Can we find a model of working that you actually provide an incentive working with us to provide affordable insurance for companies? Because you will actually see tourism plays a very key role in everyone's business. Today you had lunch, you never had it at home, you had it in a hotel in town. But he's actually paying insurance to run that business. So how can we create a model also with the insurance company and the financial sector per se to be able to create a good working ground and a good incentive? Another big area obviously is Nairobi County. Nairobi itself as a city has a lot of opportunities. It is where there's a lot of interaction both for the domestic and also for the international visitors. And so we're working with them to find a way, what do we need to invest in? And also other partners, especially PERAC is one of them, who we need to work with them to actually come up with solution. How do we actually make the nightlife in Nairobi much better and fund opportunities and also recreation facilities in Nairobi?
Okay. I have to commend you. I've been in the institution for only 2 months. Yes. Let's talk about sustainability, because at the moment you're really doing good, but I would want to know what's your plan maybe for the next 5 or 10 years? What kind of institution would you want to see?
I want to see a green institution. I think green is something that we need to build now. Yes. Kenya, since or before independence, has been known to be a green economy. Saying that is the wildlife and everything there has actually been looked at in Kenya. Even what the President just did last week on banning the ivory, conservation is something. And also just to say, for example, what the Energy Regulation Act has come on board, especially on the hospitality sector, requiring them to use, to do the water heating with solar energy and the rest. I think that is something we need to look at. And we want actually, during my time, I actually said, as we go on, especially where people have no access to electricity, especially tourism stakeholders who are running their hotels with the diesel engines and the rest, can we find a solution for them which is green, which will actually make sure that whilst they are in the middle of the national park, it's also a green facility. So ecotourism is something which we really need to build in. Another sustainable model is, as you well know, we need to build local brands. We can say one big brand in Kenya which is growing really fast is, for example, Tamarind. Yeah, Hemingway's. You see, they're actually brands which are growing. How can we actually have a Kenyan brand? And we need to work that when we're working closely with Brand Kenya on that, to actually make sure that as we think, because you will see that as an economy or tourism destination grows, bringing international brands is very key. We have now Radisson Blu, we have the Kempinski's, we have the Serenas. Now, how do we go now to the middle class and also bring brands and also make local brands that can be associated with Kenya?
Looking at the future, as we get to a conclusion, when you look at the future, the strategic plan, what's the outlook of the company? Probably, is your company built to last?
This company has been here since 1965. I think it's supposed to last as long as Kenya lasts.
Yes.
And we intend to develop a very big funding portfolio, which we are working with.
Yes.
And a very big credit line, which will actually feed the tourism sector. And we need to feed this sector to be so resilient. And resilience not only comes out with building hotels, it comes with building recreational facilities, it comes with building cable cars, it comes with building state-of-the-art convention centers. So how do we make sure that the hotels in Mombasa have something else to run to other than tourism? How do we actually make the domestic market actually go to Mombasa? Even marinas, for example, affordable marinas is something which we need to think about. Cruise, the cruise ships drives. That is something, it's not there in Kenya. There's no way that someone will actually enter a boat from Nyali and travel all the way to the other side of Ukunda and come back. Can we actually develop something for that and bring investors on board? That is one key thing, as I was earlier saying. One of the other things that we as tourism finance are supposed to do is provide investment opportunities for both locals and internationals. And very soon we'll start offering those opportunities that come out, that you'll find someone else will come up and say, I want to make a cruise itinerary just for Mombasa, maybe for dinners. So when someone actually sits there, instead of seeing Fort Jesus just inside on the island, you can actually see it as you go around Mombasa to actually see all the features of Mombasa. So that is something that we'll keep on building up, and we believe those are the things which will make this institution drive, because this institution is driven by the private sector and the community. So as long as we continue preserving the community on one side and be a very key institution in trying to build a strong community development approach through SMEs and the rest, hence reducing poverty to those communities, then conservation will work. And on the other hand, we have the private stakeholder, we have the investor, who's willing to actually put his money in the sector because he has confidence on how the sector has been performing. So that is a merge that we actually want to build in together, because it's all interlinked together. We are lucky that we are actually fortunate that many of the counties have come together, and we are working with them very closely.
Yes.
And they actually affirmed that during the devolution conference, to be able to drive tourism. As you well know, Kenya, predominantly every businessman. The started gauge railway will really change Kenya.
Yes.
It is a project which the government has really done a very big stride for Kenya. It will actually change the face of Kenya. It will change the dynamics of tourism in Kenya. This is the first time, even if it will be going at 80 kilometers an hour, someone can actually be able to be in Nairobi in the morning and in the next 4 hours be in Mombasa, but have actually seen the whole landscape in a matter of 4 hours. And with that, it opens two ways: opportunities of people to actually see what's out there, and on the road network. when you actually look at the whole standard gauge railway on the road network, there are stops. So those stops will be actually outlets which we want to capitalize on them on tourism, so that by the time those outlets are actually formed out, people can actually come out, for example, go to Savo National Park. You go to Savo East or you can go to Savo West. And also the main stations in Nairobi and Mombasa will be very central for us, because we want that tourism feel. Even for the local person, as you wait for your train, you need actually to enjoy the products in Nairobi and the companies in Nairobi that can actually offer you a proper feel of how you can actually be able to benefit from tourism. So that all of that will come together with tourism opportunities and tourism information centers, and that is the arm that we're going to actually work on.
Excellent. Now, in conclusion, I would want you to look at that camera. This is your camera, and talk to Kenyans and tell them what they should expect from you as the new boss of the Tourism Finance Corporation.
Kenyans need to come and work with us. This is an only avenue in East and Central Africa that can actually be able to give you, as a Kenyan investor, individual, a community-based project, an opportunity to actually develop tourism agenda in Kenya. So we look forward to coming with you, to working with you. Our doors are open. Come to us. We'll offer you advice. We'll offer you loans. And we'll actually work with you on the journey to actually change the tourism sector.
Right now, that's the boss, that's the CEO of the Tourism Finance Corporation, Mr. Jonah T. Orumoi. And he has said, if you have an idea, if maybe you have a business plan in regards to tourism and how it can improve tourism in this country, the doors are open, you need to come in. And of course, you can find more information on their website, which is www.tourismfinance.go.ke. This has been Frontline for Parastatal TV. I am PK Wanjiru. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. How many people know your business? Will you be limiting your growth for lack of enough exposure? Parastatal TV and Parastatal Africa magazine is giving you an opportunity to grow your business at the most affordable rates. Call us now on 020-44-000-77 or 0791-799-998. Parastatal Africa, giving your business a helping hand to greater heights. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
Hello and thank you for tuning in. This is Parastatal TV. I am your host Mugure Kamau. Now today I am delighted to have with me Mr. Andrew Kamau, the PS Petroleum Department. How are you, sir?
Very well.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
Good.
Good. Now from the private sector to working in the government, how is the experience so far?
Well, it's as I expected it. Yeah, so things are moving along. Yeah.
Okay, that is nice. Now, you happen to be the first PS in the petroleum department. What has changed? We didn't have a PS before under the petroleum department.
Yeah, I guess it reflects the changes that are happening in the industry, you know, with the discovery of oil and the need to have a pipeline to exploit our resources and additional work.
I would love you to take us through the country's petroleum sector briefly.
You know, you hear a lot about the petroleum sector being upstream and midstream and downstream. So let's start with what people know, which is downstream. Petrol stations, refineries, imports of fuel, and then we'll go to midstream, which is the pipeline part of it, and then upstream, which is exploration and production. So on downstream, you know that Kenya is probably one of the most competitive downstream industries in the world, if not in the continent, where all the fuel is imported through an open tender system. All the oil companies get together and they import at the same price, which makes for quite a uniform industry. And they only compete now on service. But it's unusual in that Kenya also is the gateway to our neighboring countries. So we also have to have an efficient downstream business. And in addition to that, now we've added LPG gas, LP gas, which we want to be a substitute for kerosene and charcoal and firewood. Because Kenya is now becoming a middle-income country. So if we're going to be a middle-income country, we also have to bring everybody else into this middle-income space. So if they can use a cleaner fuel, the better. On the midstream, of course, Kenya Pipeline is the company that dominates that midstream, with the pipeline all the way to Kisumu and Eldoret for exports. We are in the process of building the replacement to Line 1 from Mombasa to Nairobi. This pipeline has been there for quite a long time, and we hope to finish it by the end of the year. The Nakuru to Kisumu pipeline is now concluded and commissioned, so we should see more activity in that part of the world. And on the upstream, which is where most Kenyans seem to be quite interested in, after the discovery of oil, now we want to start commercializing it. And so we are busy in discussion with our partners to build the pipeline to Lamu.
Okay. And has Kenya come to realize its potential in the oil sector?
No, we're nowhere near. Nowhere near.
Why?
If you look at our gas consumption, LPG, we are 200,000 tons per year in Kenya, 40 million people. If you look at a country like Morocco, which has got the same population of 40 million people, they are 2 million tons per year. So we are 1/10, So just on that one product, we are still nowhere near. If you look at the upstream, on the exploration, we've drilled 78 wells. We've exploited a sub-basin out of our almost 380,000 square kilometers of sedimentary basins. Maybe we've done 10 or 20,000 square kilometers. So we are still really at the beginning, and we hardly know what we have in this country. Yes.
So what is the position with the exploration? Are we still discovering it?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we've only maybe explored 1/10 or 1/20 of the total area. So we're really at the beginning.
Okay, so how long is it going to take Kenya to start gaining and get the economic value for the petroleum?
Maybe by 2021. But exploration is an ongoing thing. Even in the United States, after they discovered the oil in the last 2 centuries ago, they're still discovering things through fracking and new oil fields. So there also, the exploration is still going on there.
So we are going to take a short break. We are going to be back in a while.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
Welcome back to the program. Now, if you just joined us, I am with Mr. Andrew Kamau, the PS in the Department of Petroleum, and we are discussing about petroleum in Kenya. Now, let us talk about the skill gap that we have in Kenya, and I want to know, how is the petroleum sector prepared to handle the challenge in order to create jobs for Kenyans?
Well, the first thing we needed to do is to find out, because it's a new industry, where these gaps are. So we've undertaken a skills gap analysis, a study, to find out where the problems are. You'll be surprised. You know, one of the things, there are no, shall I say, there are very few, number one, welders in Kenya who can weld petroleum pipe and to petroleum standards. People who drive bulldozers, backhoes, mobile cranes, there's also a big shortage of those kind of people. There's a shortage of qualified electricians. There's a shortage of qualified people who know how to wire instrumentation control, for starters. I mean, there are many, many other areas, but I think those four are where the main issues are. So we had to start and find out where the problems were. Once that's been done, you see in December, the president set up the State Department for Technical Vocational Education Training. So there's clearly a focus within government for those sort of skills. I mean, the other things like engineering and stuff like that, because they are there, but where Kenyans can make a real impact in the oil industry is on the technical vocation. So once we've done that, the oil companies, of course, have been investing. Like, say, for example, Africa Oil and Tullow have invested in Lodwar Polytechnic in delivering these skills. People like Technical University of Kenya, the Technical University of Mombasa, they are also looking and seeing how they can capitalize on this industry. So there's a lot of discussion going on between these educational institutions and industry, because what we've seen in the past is graduates from industry are not field ready. So they've got the documents, but you tell them, okay, fine, let's go and weld pipe under pressure or something like that. It's not going to happen. So there's a lot of discussion going on between institutions and the industry. Yeah.
So how long do you think it's going to take Kenya, in your own opinion, to reach to a point of, like, maybe Nigeria or Angola, which are the leading in production of petroleum oil in Africa?
The people who we should be trying to emulate are the Filipinos, because they have the most skills and the way they've developed. It's going to take us some time, but what we're doing is there are already people who know how to wire, who know how to weld exhaust and things like that. So we've gone for, rather than saying, okay, we're going to start fresh with new people, we are adopting something called competence-based training. So we look at, what do you have now? What do you know now? And how can we change those skills to bring you to the next level, which is oil and gas? Yeah? So that's what we're doing. So it can, depending on your level of competence, it can be anything from 6 months to 8 months, but maybe a year. So that's where we're starting with those people. So if you are a Juakali welder, you should not feel like you've missed a boat. You can still get upskilled to be able to do that. So that's where we're going. But many more people. Part of the problem also is young people don't want to do those jobs. Yeah, so we need the media, parents, schools, to tell people that, these are well-paying jobs. Just to give you an example, if you look at accounting is actually a vocational training skill. But if you go to schools that teach accounting, a lot of the people who are there are BCom students from university who are learning accounting. So if you're doing engineering, what stops you from getting a practical skill in let's say, being a mechanic? Yeah.
Okay, now as we wrap up, ERC now regulates petroleum. Are you happy with what ERC is doing?
They're doing a good job. I mean, I think people see their fuel prices are quite low, energy prices are quite low. or the movements are not too erratic. So I think they're doing a good job. Yeah.
Good. Final words. That's a camera. Tell Kenyans something.
I think what I'd like Kenyans to know is there's an opportunity out there in the oil industry. It's not just for engineers, petroleum engineers, geologists. This issue on skills is very important. And there's an opportunity for jobs. Jobs are there. If you can just decide that the office work is not the most exciting and give vocational training a chance, I think you can see there's an opportunity where these jobs are not only for Kenya, but they are the whole world. You can go anywhere in the world because the oil industry is everywhere in the world. I think that's what I'd like to pass on.
Thank you for watching Parastatal TV. Until next time, I am Mugore Kamau.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
The two words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they signify quite different things. Information is given out, communication is getting through.
Parastatal TV is a media platform that enables state corporations share development projects and experiences.
We are keen on promoting government-citizen communication for better service delivery to help seek a common development ground with the aim of transforming our country.
Our vision is to be the leading source of information for all state corporations to connect with the citizens.
We are the voice of parastatals. Many times when we hear about those who need a voice, we always imagine the weak. But in this case, we are speaking for the government. Yes, outnumbered by those it serves. This part of democracy can go unappreciated as it receives more blames than praise in any given country.
The government is entrusted with the directive to serve the people, and Parastatal TV exists to ensure communication between the government and the people.
This medium carries forth a message of hope, highlighting on the activities undertaken by the government with the interest of its citizen. Think about the roads we use, the energy power, quality education, environmental sustainability, security, the government hospitals, all these parastatals working together for the betterment of its citizen, and that is where we come in.
The government policies are formulated through the legislature and actualized at parastatal level by developing forums, promoting debates and discussions on issues relevant to parastatal and the people of its country.
We are a 24-hour business station, easily accessible, highly optimized website, www.parastatalafrica.com, a fast and interactive social media platform to break down all the existing geographical boundaries in order to pave way for the vision.
Parastatal TV also acts as a platform to gauge the people's response to the parastatals. This is made possible in the feedback on a 24-hour line at the TV station as well as on the online platform.
Located along East Africa's first superhighway is Parastatal TV that is speaking up for the government and putting their work in the limelight.
Talk to us today and be part of the vision as we make our nation a better place.
Parastatal TV.
Parastatal TV.
Parastatal TV.
Be the change you want to see.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. The Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi is the oldest hospital in Kenya. It is currently the largest referral and teaching hospital in the country. The hospital undertakes an annual project that has affected hundreds of young children in the country, the hernia project. A hernia is the protrusion of organs such as intestines through a weakened section of the abdominal wall. If left untreated, the split in the muscle widens and greater amounts of tissue or organs are pushed through the opening, forming a sac. This visible lump or bulge is one of the key characteristics of a hernia. And so, we decided to have a first-hand experience of the project. For a start, we had to go through the children's ward where we met baby Brandon, who was just about to be operated on. So I am currently at the Kenyatta National Hospital Children's Ward with Mama Brandon, and this is baby Brandon, who in just a few minutes will be going to the operation room. It's all about the hernia project 2016, which is an annual project done by the Kenyatta National Hospital.
It was around 2014. Ndio nikaanza kunotice there is something amiss. Nikimwangalia naona kuna kitu haiko normal. That's when I went to a hospital and the doctor mwenye nilipata huko directed me to Kenyatta. Then I started coming here to Kenyatta. That's when I found the doctor and said that he had the undecided testicles and it must be done an operation. I started coming here at last year January. He was diagnosed. Then that's when the doctors said that he was to go to the theater on December, but he didn't go because it was on a Christmas Eve. Then it was postponed to March. Then when I came to March, it was then when the doctor said there was this project hernia that was to be done on April, and I have to come on that time. Then when I came on that April, the project was there and I was on the list to go to the theater.
Step 2. We set out to the operation room, which was quite an experience for us, since the last time I was in the theater I was a patient, but this time I was here for the story. We are now at the Kenyatta National Hospital at the operation room, or better known to you as the theater, where two kids are currently going through the operation of the hernia project. We are going to be speaking to the doctor just to give us an insight on what the hernia project is all about.
Hernia project usually has two components. That's the hernia of the groin and the hernia of the umbilicus. Hernia of the groin is the most common, and it usually involves part of the visceral part of the abdominal contents protruding into the groin. It's very common, especially in boys and also in girls, but the ratio of boys to girls is usually between 9 to 1. It's more commoner in children who have been born before time, those who we call prematures, and those ones, it can actually occur both sides. The complaints is usually a child, either the intestines or part of the abdominal content. When they go into the groin, there's occlusion of blood supply and the child will complain of pain. Most of the times it is able to just return back to the abdomen by itself, but other times you have to manipulate it back. Now there are fewer cases where those abdominal content do not return. And if they don't return and there's no blood supply to them, then they may die off if that hernia is obstructed and it stays for a longer time. So those ones then present as emergencies who need surgery within the next 1 to 2 hours. This project was actually started because the numbers of such cases is too big and there are very few pediatric surgical centers in the country. Apart from Kenyatta, you remember the next one is in MTRH, that is Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and the one in Kijabe. So those are the three main centers. So the numbers that we have we had recruited, they are above 100, and we could only be doing like 5 in a week. You see, that would require so many weeks to complete, and yet these are urgent surgeries. So we decided to be consolidating all those cases so that one complete week we are just doing the hernia cases. We usually plan around 70 cases per year. This same for this year, our target is 72 children. So far we are almost hitting that target. By today we'll have done 54. So by tomorrow we could complete that number. There are only 3 main centers that do pediatric surgery. So most of the children from other counties are referred here, and these cases are too many. So because of the numbers and because of the urgency of those conditions, we decided to be having a week where we perhaps call everyone and ensure we have many tables, and we consolidate all those cases to just reduce the waiting time. Usually for every theater day, the selection criteria for that day is age. You start with the youngest and you finish with the eldest. In terms of feeding, a very young one cannot stay without food for many hours as opposed to a much older child. So we usually use the age as the criteria. Yes, that is for elective. For emergency, whoever is obstructed goes in first. We have 2 teams of anesthetists, so we are counting around 10 anesthetists. Then we have 15 surgeons, and we have another count of 15 nurses per day. Then we have what you call anesthetist assistants. We have what you call others. It's a big one because we need people who will carry those children from the wards to theater, the porters, security, the nurses in the ward. All in all, you have a team of 50 personnel for each project, 50 per year. The project is free, so long as you have NHIF, because the NHIF pays. But if you don't have NHIF, then it's costly. The cost is between 30 and 40,000. So the safest route is every parent to ensure they have NHIF, because if you have that, everything is free.
Next up, we were back at the children's ward where we met Mary Wamboi, also known as Mama Victor. Baby Victor had just been operated on 2 days ago and was ready to be discharged. But first, we had to find out how exactly did she find out about the disease.
Nilinotice side moja ya testis inafula on light. After nilifind out, nilienda kwa hospitali. Daktari ananiambia maybe akifikisha 3 years itakuwa sawa. Nikaenda hospitali nyingine, nikatumwa na daktari Kenyatta, nikaanza clinic. Nikabukiwa operation, ilikuwa mwezi wa 8 tarehe 8. Later nikapigwa simu nikaambiwa kuna project ya hernia nikuje. Sasa ndio tukapewa tarehe ya kukuja. Tukakuja on Tuesday, akafanyiwa operation jana. Vile alikuwa na hiyo nini ya side moja ilikuwa inafura wakati anacheka ama analia, lakini wakati amerelax iko sawa. Lakini sasa ninaona hata akicheza iko na different. Ukiona mtoto wako maybe amefura pahali, usipuuze, lazima ukonsult daktari. Sababu inaweza kuwa shida, umenyamazia tu, akuwe mkubwa urealize, baadaye mletee shida. I would like to say thank you to all Kenyatta doctor, nurses wenye wamehusika na hii project. We thank them sababu wametusaidia sana.
All the 72 operations this year were successful, and we are looking forward to next year when the next hernia project will be on, and as Parastatal TV, we shall definitely be there to update you. For Parastatal TV, I am PK Wanjiro. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations.
Parastatal Africa magazine is a media platform that enables African state corporations to share development projects and experiences, both through the printed and internet editions, covering the news and future events, pictorials, products and services, among others. We are keen on bridging the communication challenges that have existed between the public and state corporations. We seek a common ground where government, parastatals and the various publics can share and work together with the aim of transforming our continent. Our vision is to be the leading and most reliable avenue for Africa's state corporations and connecting with the public in service delivery. Currently, we have pilot offices in Uganda, Tanzania, Botswana, South Africa and Nigeria. Parastatal Africa magazine, connecting Africa state development.
Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Many thanks for joining us. You're definitely watching Parastatal TV, the station that promotes the role of state corporation. I am Paul K. Wanjiro and this is definitely Frontline. Now, Kenya Bureau of Standards is a statutory body established under the Standards Act, that's to be precise Cap 496 of the laws of Kenya. Just 2 years ago, to be precise in 2014 rather, KEBS marked its 40th anniversary and the organization has achieved a lot in relation to providing standards and conformity assessment services in the country. To help us understand better the role and the mandate of the Kenya Bureau of Standards is the Managing Director, Mr. Charles Ongwae. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
There's somebody I was talking to yesterday and I told them I'm going to be having an interview with you, and they told me the first question I should ask is standards. What are these standards? Because there are people who don't understand what the Kenya Bureau is clear, but what are these standards?
Thank you very much. A standard is basically a set of rules that tells you, gives requirements of a particular item or a service.
Okay.
For example, if you want to manufacture an item, a standard will tell you the requirements that you need to fulfill for you to manufacture that particular item, such that you can be able to sell it to your customer, whoever that customer is.
Okay.
So it's basically a set of rules.
It's just a set of rules.
A set of requirements, which in a number of cases might be requirements by the law or voluntary, as happens in a majority of the cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that takes me to my next question, because the mandate of KEBS is to provide standardization solutions for sustainable development. Tell us more about that.
Thank you. Perhaps if I briefly touch on the mandate of KEBS, I think that will help. As you've rightly indicated, KEBS was formed under Cap 496. That's the Standards Act, way back in 1974. And for the last 41 years, we've been developing standards. That's our core mandate, to develop standards. And where possible, to harmonize these standards within the region. And as you know, standards are important.
Yes.
They have very important tools in society. Number one, standards will help to facilitate trade. They will help to level the playing field. They will enable, for example, if you look at these cameras that you have here, the various parts are manufactured by various manufacturers.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
For those parts to fit to become a camera, they must be manufactured to standard. These are the requirements that we are talking about, the set of rules that we are talking about, such that when it comes to assembly, they just fit seamlessly. Yeah? That is facilitating trade.
Yes.
And then the second thing about standards is that they level the playing ground. I.e., if you are manufacturing this camera, you must manufacture the same camera.
Yes.
Irrespective of whether you are doing it in Kenya or Uganda, it is as long as it's the same brand. Yeah.
such that when somebody buys that particular camera, he knows that it has been manufactured to requirements, to spec, thus leveling the playing field, the ground. If you are manufacturing a pen, for example, or a pencil, there are rules, there are requirements for manufacturing a pencil that our children use in school. And therefore, if people meet that requirements, those rules, those standards, then there will be a level playing field. Level playing field in the sense that that pencil will cost 5 shillings. However much you try, the price or the cost of that pencil will be around 5 shillings. Of course, there are people who will be more efficient than others, but the price differentials shouldn't be that big when it comes to cost.
Okay, which takes me to my next question. Now, the product has been manufactured, but now there's the process that it has to go through, the verification process. Kindly take us through the verification process and what exactly happens.
Thank you. And that brings me to the second mandate of KEBS, and that is quality assurance and inspection. Quality assurance and inspection is a mandate that enables KEBS to check out there in the market whether goods meet the Kenya standards.
Okay.
And when it comes to product certification, there are 2 things that we do. Number 1, it depends on whether it's a locally manufactured product or an imported product. If we stick to the locally manufactured product, what happens is that if a manufacturer wants to manufacture a product in this country, number 1, they will obviously come up with a sample. They will bring that sample to KEBS. And KEBS will test that sample and to a standard, to check whether it meets the relevant standard, because every product has its own standard. And once we've checked and confirmed that that product meets the standard, then we will now allow you to proceed to produce in bulk. Okay?
Yes.
We haven't certified you. Yeah? Remember, we haven't certified you.
Yes.
We will now allow you to produce in bulk now. When your first basically production, and while you are producing, you will call the KEBS people. They will come to the factory. They will look at your factory. They will do a review of your factory, do a couple of things to make sure that whatever you are doing meets the standard, the requirements of the standard. Because the requirements of the standard do not just stop at the product. They also extend to your manufacturing practice. How have you set up your plant, your factory, for example, that you are manufacturing? Where is it located? If it's food, for example, have you met all other requirements for manufacturing food that have been set, say, by the Ministry of Health or by the Department of Veterinary Services or by other regulatory agencies in the country? Once they are satisfied that you've met all those conditions, then they will pick a sample from your production line. Yeah?
Just any sample?
Any sample, random sample from your production line. These are qualified people, experienced people, they know what to do. Are quality assurance inspectors. They will then bring that sample to KEBS, and we will test that sample. If it meets the requirements of the standard, we will then give you a permit to continue manufacturing.
Interesting.
And selling to the public.
What if it's the otherwise?
If it fails, we will tell you you cannot sell this product in this country. But we know that you've put money into setting up your factory. So we will work with you. We will tell you what you need to do so that you can meet the requirements of the standard. Having tested, we obviously know where the gaps are, and we will share those gaps with you. And we will tell you, go back and reformulate your product. Yeah? We will come back and pick more samples, and once we are satisfied that there is consistency in quality, because consistency in quality is important, you must demonstrate that you can sustain the quality of the product that you are producing, then we will give you a permit.
Okay.
And it doesn't stop there. At this stage now, we have enrolled you into our scheme of service. Yeah? It doesn't stop there. We will then agree with you, depending on the risk profile of the product, that we will be visiting you, say quarterly or even monthly if it's a very high risk product, half yearly or annually. Yeah? But we don't tell you when we are coming to your factory.
Just
yeah?
Within that quarter, we just show up, pick samples from the production line, check to make sure that what we saw the first time we visited your factory is in place and working well, and come and test the sample. If there is consistency in the results with what we had seen before, then you continue producing. We don't interfere with your business. If for some reason there is inconsistency and the product fails, then we will tell you to stop production until you meet the requirements of the standard. At this time now, you become a high-risk manufacturer, and we might increase the frequency of our visits to your factory. That's how we do certification, product certification. When it comes to imported goods, what we do is we've put in place what we call a PFOC program. This is a pre-export conformity, certificate of conformity, conformity assessment, which is done at the point of origin of the product, because we do not want substandard products to get into the country. We want these stopped before they are exported into the country. So we've appointed various inspectors in all countries in the world who do conformity assessments on behalf of KEBS. In some countries, we have about 4 of them. In some countries where we don't have a big business in terms of volume, we've got 1. And generally, the 4 of them cover the whole world. This is SGS, Intertech, PV, and CCIC. Yeah? Those are the 4. If you go to China, you'll find all the 4 present. If you come to some other smaller countries, you'll find probably 1 or 2. But at the moment, because we've now, since November last year, December, to be very specific, last year, the government decided that all products will be covered under the PFOC program. We are in the process of reviewing to increase the number of inspectors. We are not going to introduce new people. We are simply going to reallocate those that we have. Yeah? If there were 2, we probably will add 1 to make sure that whoever is importing products into this country is not inconvenienced. So that PFOC program then provides the certification for the goods that we need. When these goods get to Mombasa, we do what we call random sampling for products that come with a COC, a certificate of conformity. Yeah? We do, it appears like random sampling, but it's actually informed by science, because we do statistics. And if you've been importing products into the country that are substandard, you are actually a high-risk importer. So the frequency of sampling for products that you bring into this country is much higher compared to somebody whose products have consistently been passing. And if we find that the product doesn't meet our specifications, we will seize the product. These are the products that we seize and we go and destroy, because it's already in the country. Unless the importer is willing to re-export the product, in which case we have no problem. He or she can take it back to wherever they got that product from. So that is how we ensure that products entering the country are certified. Now, if you come without a certificate of conformity, we do what we call destination inspection at Mombasa. But it's very expensive. Number 1, you will pay KEBS 15% of the CIF cost, because you've chosen to come without a COC. And we are trying to make sure that people do inspection at the point of supply, at the point of origin. But if you choose to come, there's a penalty that you pay. We have to test your goods before they are cleared. So chances that demurrage at the port of Mombasa will kick in are high, depending on how long it takes to test your goods. Yeah? So we are encouraging people to actually ensure that their goods are inspected out there.
At the point of origin.
At the point of origin before they come. And when they come with the COC, hakuna maneno, the goods just come into the country. Yeah? Except for these interventions that we do when we are doing sampling to ensure that what our inspectors out there have told us is indeed what has come into the country.
Now you realize your job mainly involves a lot of personnel, and in this country, to be precise, and in this day and age, there are a lot of impersonators. So how exactly, if I have a manufacturing plant, how exactly can I be able to verify if indeed this is somebody who's coming from Kenya Bureau of Standards? Is there a criteria that I can be able to identify them?
Thank you very much. It's true that we've seen people who are impersonating KEBS staff. In the recent past, in fact, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen 3 cases where people are impersonating KEBS staff. The worst part of it is that they are accompanied by the police. That's the worst part of it. Okay. They are accompanied by the police. And they normally visit business premises. These are rent seekers, basically. They probably have no idea what inspection is all about, yes, or quality assurance is all about. But although they have been accompanied by the police, again, whenever we report, the police, certain arms of the police have been very useful. Because if police are involved, you can imagine that they don't want this. It's certain individuals, yeah? And in some cases, these guys go to the police and probably cheat them. They are from KEBS. Yeah, so the police might be doing this innocently at the same time without really realizing. So it's very important for even the police to confirm that these are KEBS employees. And this is how the police will confirm. Number one, a KEBS employee will always carry a KEBS ID when they are going out there for inspection. They must have a KEBS ID. Okay. In addition, we have told them to carry their national ID. So the details on the KEBS ID, the details on the national ID have to tie. Okay. Now, the KEBS ID has a personal number. KEBS ID has a personal number. Yes. That number is important for the 3rd stage of verification. And we are asking the manufacturers or the shopkeepers or retailers or wholesalers who are approached to send a short SMS to KEBS. And the number they send this to is 20023. 20023. HR hash
and then the
staff number.
And the staff number should be the number in the identification in the staff ID.
In the staff ID.
Okay.
In the staff ID. If you send this message, we will respond very quickly within 3 or 4 seconds. And the message will come back and it will tell you that the number, the owner of this number is, say, Charles Ongwae. Yes. He is the managing director of Kenya Bureau of Standards. His ID number is XXYZ. He is a current employee. Yeah? i.e., he is still working for KEBS. Now, with all those 3 steps, then you know that the people talking to you are KEBS employees and genuine employees. And then you can let them do their work. KEBS employees do not harass manufacturers. Yeah? We've told our people that if we find them demanding bribes, that is ground for firing. Wow. Yeah? That's ground for firing. Yes. And we're asking manufacturers not to pay bribes anyway. Why should they pay bribes?
Excellent. Now, I'm sure you're learning something. Probably if there's somebody who's come to your company or maybe to your place of work and you have any questions in regards to whether they are genuine personnel from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, it's very simple. What you have to do is send a short message, that is an SMS, to 20023, and you'll get a response within 3 or 5 seconds, which is very efficient. I have to say this is a fast one from the Kenya Bureau of Standards. We take a short break, but we'll be back in just a heartbeat. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Parastatal TV, promoting the role of state corporations. Welcome back. You're definitely watching Parastatal TV. This is Frontline. I am your host PK Wanjiro, and today my guest is none other than the Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director, Mr. Charles Ongwae. Learning a lot, and I'm sure you're learning something. And to move us to our next point, because there's something that I would want to find out. Now, KEBS is ISO 9001 2015 certified. I would want you to tell us more about that, and how exactly is it going to be a game changer rather to the Kenya Bureau of Standards?
Thank you very much. First, what is ISO 9001? Yeah, I have already told you that a standard is a set of requirements,
yes,
a set of rules.
Yes.
So ISO 9001 is basically requirements for a quality management system. Yeah, that is what it is. These are requirements for a quality management system. So if you have a process in place, whether it's in service industry or manufacturing, you must have a quality management system in place. And these are the requirements of that system. This standard was first launched in 1987 and then revised in 2008. That's why until last year, people used to talk about ISO 9001-2008 because it was revised in 2008. Then in 2015, there were further revisions into this standard. And today, we talk about ISO 9001-2015. So we are talking about the 2015 version.
Okay.
A quality management system basically ensures that whatever you are doing is sustainable. Whatever you are doing is consistent. And therefore, because we are a standards body, we want to demonstrate that we must be the first ones to be certified. Yeah. Before we ask other people to get certified. Yeah. So we are certified by the British Standards Institute, BSI. That is the body that certifies us. Yeah.
Yes.
And then we can now certify others. Because we know the benefits of ISO 9001-2015. We are not preaching water and drinking wine. No. We are preaching what we drink.
Yes.
Yeah. The same stuff. Yeah. And we want people to implement 9001-2015. Obviously, there is a transition period because people were certified to 2008, yes, and you are certified for a period of 3 years. There are certainly people who are certified last year for a period of 3 years that runs into 2019 or thereabout. And that is the transition that we have in place, a 3-year transition up to 2018, basically, when all of us have to transit from 9001-2008 to 9001-2015. It's about consistency. It's about sustainability.
Yes.
It's about quality of whatever it is that you are producing.
Excellent.
That's what ISO 9001 is about.
Okay.
And that's why we are calling upon all manufacturers to be certified to this standard. Because then they are telling their customers that our product is consistent, because we have a quality management system in place that ensures that everything we do is consistent, meets the rules, and we are okay. Yeah, and comparable to the best in the market. Yeah.
Now, KEBS is the ultimate facilitator of trade, and I would want you to take us through some of the steps that you're taking to ensure that is met, that KEBS still maintains the top quality of being the ultimate facilitator of trade in the country.
Thank you very much. And this is one contribution from KEBS that other than people in business,